Whether I'm appearing on radio or television, I'm well known for making the following statement. Minutes, and I can predict your financial future for the rest of your life. How? In a short conversation, I can identify what's called your money and success blueprint. Each of us has a personal money and success blueprint already embedded in our subconscious mind. And it is this blueprint, more than anything and everything else combined, that will determine your financial destiny. I want to introduce you to an extremely important formula because it determines how you create your reality and your wealth. Many of the most respected teachers in the field of human potential have used this formula as a foundation for their teachings. It's called the process of manifestation, and it goes like this. Thoughts lead to feelings. Feelings lead to actions, and actions lead to results. Your financial blueprint consists of a combination of your thoughts, feelings, and actions in the arena of money. So how is your money blueprint formed? The answer is simple. Your financial blueprint consists primarily of the information or programming you received in the past, especially as a young child. Who are the primary sources of this programming or conditioning? For most people, this might include parents, siblings, friends, authority figures, teachers, religious leaders, media, and your culture, to name a few. Do you think a child comes out of the womb with his or her attitudes towards money, or do you believe the child is taught how to deal with money? The same holds true for you, me, for everyone. You were taught how to think and act when it comes to money. These teachings become your conditioning, and these automatic responses run you for the rest of your life. Unless, of course, you intercede and revise your mind's money files, which is exactly what we're going to do in this recording. We said earlier that thoughts lead to feelings, that feelings lead to actions, and that actions lead to results. So here's an interesting question. Where do your thoughts come from? Your thoughts originate from the files of information you have in the storage cabinets of your mind. So where does this information come from? It comes from your past programming. That's right. Your past conditioning determines every thought that bubbles up in your mind. To reflect this understanding, we can now revise our process of manifestation in the following manner. Your programming leads to your thoughts lead to your feelings lead to your actions, and your actions lead to your results. Therefore, just as is done with a personal computer, by changing your programming, you take the first essential step to changing your results. We are conditioned in three primary ways in every arena of life, including money. Verbal programming. What did you hear when you were young? Modeling. What did you see when you were young? Specific incidents. What did you experience when you were young? Let's begin with the first influence, verbal programming. What did you hear about money, wealth, and rich people when you were growing up? Did you ever hear phrases like, money's the root of all evil, save your money for a rainy day, rich people are greedy, filthy rich? Money doesn't grow on trees, you know. Money doesn't buy happiness. Money talks. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. You get the picture. In my household, every time I asked my father for any money, I'd hear him scream, "What am I, made of money?" Jokingly, I'd respond, "I wish. I'll take an arm, a hand, even a finger." You know, he never laughed once. All the statements you heard about money when you were young remain in your subconscious mind as part of the blueprint that is running your financial life. An example of the power of verbal conditioning came at the expense of one of our Millionaire Mind seminar participants. Stephen didn't have a problem earning money. His challenge was keeping it. At the time Stephen came to the course, he was earning over $800,000 a year and had been doing so for the past 9 years. Yet, he was still barely scraping by. Somehow, he managed to spend his money, lend it, or lose it all by making poor investment decisions. Whatever the reason, his net worth was exactly zero. Stephen shared with us that when he was growing up, his mom always used to say, "Rich people are greedy. They make their money off the sweat of the poor. You should have just enough to get by. After that, you're a pig." It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what was going on inside Stephen's subconscious mind. No wonder he was broke. He was verbally conditioned by his mother to believe that rich people are greedy. Therefore, his mind linked up rich with greedy, which of course is bad. Since he didn't want to be bad, subconsciously he couldn't be rich. Stephen loved his mom and didn't want her to disapprove of him. Obviously, based on her beliefs, if he were to get rich, she wouldn't approve. Therefore, the only thing for him to do was to get rid of any extra money beyond just getting by, otherwise he'd be a pig. Now, you would think that in choosing between being rich and being approved of by mom or anyone else for that matter, most people would take being rich. Not a chance. Sure, riches would seem to be the logical choice, but when the subconscious mind must choose between deeply rooted emotions and logic, emotions will almost always win. Which leads us to an all-important wealth principle. When the subconscious mind must choose between deeply rooted emotions and logic, emotions will almost always win. In my own life, after a slow start, I began doing well in business, but never seemed to make money with my stocks. In becoming aware of my money blueprint, I went back to when I was young and recalled that each day after work, my dad would sit down at the dinner table with the newspaper, check the stock pages, slam his fist on the table and shout, "Those stinking stocks!" He then spent the next half hour ranting about how stupid the whole system is and how you have a better chance of making money playing the slot machines in Las Vegas. Now that you understand the power of verbal conditioning, can you see that it's no wonder I couldn't make any money in the stock market? I was literally programmed to fail, programmed to unconsciously pick the wrong stock at the wrong price at the wrong time. Why? To subconsciously validate my money blueprint that said, stocks stink. All I can say is by digging out this massive toxic weed from my inner financial garden, I began getting inundated with more fruits. Virtually the day after I reconditioned myself, the stocks I chose began to boom, and I've continued to have amazing success in the stock market ever since. There are 4 key elements of change, each of which is essential in reprogramming your financial blueprint. They are simple but profoundly powerful. The first key is awareness. Write down all the statements you heard about money, wealth, and rich people when you were young. The second is understanding. Write down how you believe these statements have affected your financial life so far. The third is disassociation. Can you see that these thoughts represent only what you learned and are not part of your anatomy and not who you are? Can you see that you have a choice in the present moment to be different? And the fourth key is reconditioning, and we'll begin to do that with a declaration. Place your hand over your heart and say, "What I heard about money isn't necessarily true. I choose to adopt new ways of thinking that support my happiness and success." Touch your head now and say, "I have a millionaire mind." The second way we are conditioned subconsciously is called modeling. What were your parents or guardians like in the arena of money when you were growing up? Did one or both of them manage their money well, or did they mismanage money? Were they spenders, or were they savers? Were they shrewd investors, or were they non-investors? Were they risk takers, or really conservative? Was money consistently there, or was the flow more sporadic? Did money come easily in your family, or was it always a struggle? Why is this information important? You've probably heard the saying, monkey see, monkey do. Well, humans aren't far behind. As kids, we learn just about everything from modeling. Although most of us would hate to admit it, there is more than a grain of truth to the old saying, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. For example, my dad was in the home building business. He built anywhere from a dozen to 100 homes per project. Each project took a huge amount of capital investment. My dad would have to put up everything we had and borrow heavily from the bank until the homes were sold and the cash came through. Consequently, at the beginning of each project, we had no money and were in debt up to our eyeballs. As you can imagine, during this period, my dad was not in the best of moods, nor was generosity his strong suit. If I asked him for anything that cost even a penny, his standard reply after the usual, "What am I made of money?" was, "Are you crazy?" Of course, I wouldn't get a dime. This scenario would last for about a year or two until the homes were finally sold. Then we'd be rolling in dough. All of a sudden, my dad was a different person. He'd be happy, kind, and extremely generous. He'd even come over and ask me if I needed a few bucks. I felt like giving him his glare back, but I wasn't that stupid, so I said, "Sure, Dad, thanks," and rolled my eyes. Life was good until that dreaded day when he'd come home and announce, "I found a good piece of land. We're going to build again." I distinctly remember saying, "Great, Dad, good luck," as my heart sank knowing the struggle that was about to unfold again. This pattern lasted from the time I could remember, when I was about 6, until the age of 21, when I moved out of my parents' house for good. Then it stopped, or so I thought. At 21 years of age, I finished school and became, you guessed it, a builder. I then went on to several other types of project-based businesses. For some strange reason, I'd make a small fortune, but just a short time later, I'd be broke. I'd get into another business and believe I was on top of the world again, only to hit bottom a year later. This up and down pattern went on for nearly 10 years before I realized that maybe the problem wasn't the type of business I was choosing, the partners I was choosing, the employees I had, the state of the economy, or my decision to take time off and relax when things were going well. I finally recognized that maybe, just maybe, I was unconsciously reliving my dad's up and down income pattern. All I can say is, thank goodness I learned what you're learning in this recording and was able to recondition myself out of that yo-yo model and into having a consistently growing income. Here are steps you can take to change your modeling influence. Awareness. Consider the ways and habits each of your parents brought to money and wealth. Write down how you may be identical or opposite to either of them. Understanding. Write down the effect this modeling has had on your financial life. Disassociation. Can you see this way of being is only what you learned and isn't you? Can you see you have a choice in the present moment to be different? And let's do a declaration. Place your hand over your heart and say, "What I modeled around money was their way. I choose my way." Now touch your head and say, "I have a millionaire mind." The third primary way in which we are conditioned to think about money is by specific incidents. What did you experience when you were young around money, wealth, and rich people? These experiences are extremely important because they shape the beliefs, or rather the illusions, you now live by. Let me give you an example, one that's close to home. When my wife was 8 years old, she would hear the clanging bells of the ice cream truck coming down the street. She would run to her mom and ask her for a quarter. Her mom would reply, "Sorry, dear, I don't have any money. Go ask Dad. Dad's got all the money." My wife wouldn't go ask her dad. He'd give her a quarter, she'd go get her ice cream cone, and she was a happy camper. Week after week, the same incident would repeat itself. So what did my wife learn about money? First, that men have all the money. So once we got married, what do you think she expected of me? That's right, money. And I'll tell you what, she wasn't asking for quarters anymore. Somehow she graduated. Second, she learned that women don't have money. If her mom didn't have money, obviously this is the way my wife should be. To validate that way of being, she would subconsciously get rid of all her money. She was quite precise about it too. If you gave her $100, she'd spend $100. If you gave her $200, she'd spend $200. If you gave her $500, she'd spend $500. And if you gave her $1,000, she'd spend $1,000. Then she came to one of my seminars and learned all about the art of leverage. You give her $2,000, she spent $10,000. The only thing my wife and I ever fought about was money, and it almost cost us our marriage. What we didn't know at the time was that the meanings each of us attributed to money were radically different. As far as I was concerned, whenever my wife spent money, she wasn't spending money, she was spending our future freedom. And as far as she was concerned, whenever I held her back from spending, I was taking away her pleasure in life. Thank goodness we learned how to revise each of our money blueprints and, more importantly, create a third money blueprint specifically designed for the relationship. Does all this work? Let me put it this way. I've witnessed 3 miracles in my life. 1, the birth of my daughter. 2, the birth of my son. 3, my wife and I not fighting about money anymore. Statistics show that the number one cause of all relationship breakups is money. The biggest reason behind the fights people have about money is not the money itself, but the mismatch of their blueprints. It doesn't matter how much money you have or don't have. If your blueprint doesn't match that of the person you're dealing with, you'll have a major challenge. This goes for married couples, dating couples, family relationships, and even business associates. The key is to comprehend that you are dealing with blueprints, not money. Once you recognize a person's money blueprint, you can deal with your partner in a way that works for both of you. Here's an exercise you can do with your partner. Sit down and discuss the history each of you brings to your thoughts about money, what you have heard when you were young, what was modeled in your family, and any emotional incidents that occurred. Also, find out what money really means to your partner. Is it pleasure or freedom or security or status? This will assist you in identifying each other's current money blueprint and may help you discover why you might be disagreeing in this arena. Next, discuss what you want today, not as individuals, but as a partnership. Decide and agree upon your general goals and attitudes with regard to money and success. Then create a list of these attitudes and actions you both agree to live by and write them down. Post them on the wall, and if ever there's an issue, gently, very gently, remind each other what you decided together when you were both objective, unemotional, and outside the grip of your old money blueprints. Here are steps you can take to change the way specific incidents in your life have affected you. Awareness. Consider a specific emotional incident you experienced around money when you were young. Understanding. Write down how this incident may have affected your current financial life. Disassociation. Can you see this way of being is only what you learned and isn't you? Can you see you have a choice in the present moment to be different? And let's do a declaration. Place your hand on your heart and say, I release my non-supportive money experience from the past and create a new and rich future. Now touch your head and say, I have a millionaire mind. Now it's time to answer the million-dollar question. What is your current money and success blueprint, and what results is it subconsciously moving you toward? Are you set for success, mediocrity, or financial failure? Are you programmed for struggle or for ease around money? Are you set for working hard for your money or working in balance? Are you conditioned for having a consistent income or an inconsistent income? You know the scoop. First you have it, then you don't. Then you have it, then you don't. Are you set for having a high income, a moderate income, or a low income? Did you know there are actual dollar amounts for which many of us are programmed? Are you set for earning $20,000 to $30,000 a year, $40,000 to $60,000 a year, $75,000 to $100,000, $150,000, $200,000, $250,000, or more? The point I want to make is that the actual amounts don't really matter. What matters is whether you are reaching your full financial potential. Let's go on. Are you programmed for saving money or for spending money? Are you programmed for managing your money well or for mismanaging it? Are you set for picking winning investments or picking losers? You might wonder, how could whether or not I make money in the stock market or in the real estate market be part of my blueprint? Simple. Who picks the stock or the property? You do. Who picks when you buy it? You do. Who picks when you sell it? You do. I guess you've got something to do with the equation. Once again, your money blueprint will determine your financial life and your personal life. If you are a woman whose blueprint is set for low, chances are you will attract a man who is also set for low so you can stay in your financial comfort zone and validate your blueprint. If you are a man who is set for low, chances are you will attract a woman who might be a spender and gets rid of all your money so you can stay in your financial comfort zone and validate your blueprint. Most people believe the success of their business is primarily dependent on their business skills and knowledge, or at least their timing in the marketplace. I hate to be the one to break it to you, but that's la land, which is another way of saying not a chance. The success of your business will depend on your money blueprint. So, how can you tell what your money blueprint is set for? One of the most obvious ways is to look at your results. Look at your bank account. Look at your income. Look at your net worth. Look at your success with investments. Look at your business success. Look at whether you're a spender or a saver. Look at whether you manage your money well or mismanage it. Look at how consistent or inconsistent you are. Look at how hard you work for your money. Look at your relationships that involve money. Is money a struggle or does it come easily to you? Do you own a business or do you have a job? Do you stick with one business or job for a long time or do you jump around a lot? Your blueprint is like a thermostat. If the temperature in the room is 72 degrees, chances are good that the thermostat is set for 72 degrees. Now here's where it gets interesting. Is it possible that because the window is open and it's cold outside, the temperature in the room can drop to 65 degrees? Of course, but what will eventually happen? The thermostat will kick in and bring the temperature back to 72. Also, is it possible that because the window is open and it's hot outside, the temperature in the room can go up to 77 degrees? Sure, it could. But what will eventually happen? The thermostat will kick in and bring the temperature back to 72. The only way to permanently change the temperature in the room is to reset the thermostat. In the same way, the only way to change your level of financial success permanently is to reset your financial thermostat, otherwise known as your money blueprint. Remember what I said a little while ago, your income can only grow to the extent that you do. Fortunately or unfortunately, your personal money and success blueprint will tend to stay with you for the rest of your life unless you identify it and change it. And that's exactly what we'll continue to do in part 2 of this recording. Remember that the first element of all change is awareness. So watch yourself, become conscious, observe your thoughts, your fears, your beliefs, your habits, your actions, and even your inactions. Put yourself under a microscope. Study yourself. By achieving consciousness, we can live from who we are today rather than who we were yesterday. In this way, we can respond appropriately to situations, tapping the full range of potential of our skills and talents rather than inappropriately reacting to events driven by the fears and insecurities of the past. Once you are conscious, you can see your programming for what it is, simply a recording of information you received and believed in the past when you were too young to know any better. You can see that this conditioning is not who you are, but whom you learn to be. Knowing this, you can consciously choose to release any belief or way of being that is not supportive to your wealth, and you can replace it with one that is. In my Millionaire Mind seminars, I teach that no thought lives in your head rent-free. Each thought you have will either be an investment or a cost. It will either move you towards happiness and success or away from it. That's why it's imperative you choose your thoughts and beliefs wisely. Realize that your thoughts and beliefs aren't who you are, and they are not necessarily attached to you. As precious as you believe them to be, they have no more importance and meaning than you give them. Nothing has meaning except for the meaning you give it. Let me repeat that. Nothing has meaning except for the meaning you give it. Now recall how at the beginning of this recording, I suggested that you don't believe a word I say. Well, if you really want to take off in your life, don't believe a word you say. And if you want instant enlightenment, don't believe a thought you think. Meanwhile, if you're like most people, you're going to believe something, so you might as well adopt beliefs that support you, rich beliefs. Remember, thoughts lead to feelings, which lead to actions, which lead to results. You can choose to think and act like rich people do, and therefore create the results that rich people create. The question is, how do rich people think and act? That's precisely what you'll discover in part 2 of this recording. Here's another declaration. Place your hand on your heart and say, I observe my thoughts and entertain only those that empower me. Now touch your head and say, I have a millionaire mind. In part 1 of this recording, we discussed the process of manifestation. Thoughts lead to feelings lead to actions, and actions lead to results. Everything begins with your thoughts, which are produced by your mind. Isn't it amazing that our mind is pretty much the basis for our life, and yet most of us have no clue as to how this powerful apparatus functions? So let's start by taking a simple look at how your mind works. Metaphorically, your mind is nothing more than a big file cabinet, similar to what you'd find in your office or home. All information that comes in is labeled and filed in folders so that it's easy to retrieve to help you survive. Did you hear that? I didn't say thrive, I said survive. In every situation in front of you, you go to the files of your mind to determine how to respond. Say, for example, you're considering a financial opportunity. You automatically go to your file labeled money and from there decide what to do. The only thoughts you can have about money will be what are stored in your money file. That's all you can think about because that's all that's in your mind in that category. So you decide based on what you believe is logical, sensible, and appropriate for you at the time. You make what you think is the right choice. The problem, however, is that your right choice may not be a successful choice. In fact, what makes perfect sense to you may consistently produce perfectly poor results. For instance, let's imagine my wife is in the mall. That shouldn't be too hard for me to imagine. She sees this green purse. It's on sale for 25% off. She immediately goes to her mind files with the question, should I get this purse? In a nanosecond, her mind files come back with the answer. You've been looking for a green purse to go with those green shoes you bought last week. Plus, it's just the right size. Buy it. As she rushes to the checkout counter, her mind is not only thrilled that she's going to have this beautiful purse, but glowing with pride that she got it for 25% off. To her mind, this purchase makes perfect sense. She wants it, she believes she needs it, and it's such a deal. However, at no point did her mind come up with the thought, true, this is really a nice purse, and true, this is a great deal, but right now I'm $3,000 in debt, so I better hold off. She didn't come up with that information because no file in her head contains that information. The file of when you're in debt, don't buy anymore was never installed in her and doesn't exist, which means that particular choice is not an option. Do you catch my drift? If you've got files in your cabinet that are non-supportive to financial success, those will be the only choices you can make. They'll be natural, automatic, and make perfect sense to you, but in the end, they will still produce financial failure or mediocrity at best. Conversely, if you've got mind files that support financial success, you will naturally and automatically make decisions that produce success. You won't have to think about it. When it comes to money, wouldn't it be incredible if you could inherently think how rich people think? I sure hope you said absolutely or something to that effect. As we stated previously, the first step to any change is awareness, meaning the first step to thinking the way rich people think is to know how rich people think. Rich people think very differently from poor and middle-class people. They think differently about money, wealth, themselves, other people, and pretty well every other facet of life. Now we're going to examine some of these differences, and as part of your reconditioning, install alternative wealth files into your mind. With new wealth files come new choices. You can then catch yourself when you are thinking like poor and middle-class people and consciously shift your focus to how rich people think. Remember, you can choose to think in ways that will support you in your happiness and success instead of ways that don't. Having said this, however, I want to add that in no way, shape, or form do I mean to degrade poor people or want to appear to be without compassion for their situation. I do not believe that rich people are better than poor people, they're just richer. At the same time, I want to make sure you get the message, so I'm going to make the distinctions between the rich and poor as extreme as possible. There are 17 ways rich people think and act differently than poor and middle-class people. They're summed up in wealth files. Here's the first one. Rich people believe, I create my life. Poor people believe, life happens to me. If you want to create wealth, it is imperative that you believe that you are at the steering wheel of your life, especially your financial life. If you don't believe this, then you must inherently believe that you have little or no control over your life, and therefore you have little or no control over your financial success. That is not a rich attitude. Did you ever notice that it's usually poor people who spend a fortune playing the lottery? They actually believe their wealth is going to come from someone picking their name out of a hat. They spend Saturday night glued to the TV, excitedly watching the draw to see if wealth is going to land on them this week. Sure, everyone wants to win the lottery, and even rich people play for fun once in a while, but first, they don't spend half their paycheck on tickets, and second, winning the lottery is not their primary strategy for creating wealth. You have to believe that you are the one who creates your success, that you are the one who creates your mediocrity, and that you are the one creating your struggle around money and success. Consciously or unconsciously, it's still you. Instead of taking responsibility for what's going on in their lives, poor people choose to play the role of the victim. A victim's predominant thought is often, poor me. So presto, by virtue of the law of intention, that's literally what victims get. They get to be poor. Notice that I said they play the role of the victim. I didn't say they are victims. I don't believe anyone is a victim. I believe people play the victim because they think it gets them something. We'll discuss this in more detail shortly. That said, how can you tell when people are playing the victim? Well, they leave 3 very obvious clues. First clue is blame. When it comes to why they're not rich, most victims are professionals at the blame game. The object of this game is to see how many people and circumstances you can point the finger at without ever looking at yourself. It's fun, for victims at least. Unfortunately, it's not such a blast for anyone who is unlucky enough to be around them. That's because those in close proximity to victims become easy targets. Victims blame the economy, they blame the government, they blame the stock market, they blame their employer, they blame their employees, they blame their manager, they blame their partner, they blame their spouse, they blame God, and of course they always blame their parents. It's always someone else, it's always something else that is to blame. The problem is anything or anyone but them. Victim clue number 2, justifying. If victims aren't blaming, you'll also find them justifying or rationalizing their situation by saying something like, money's not really important. Now let me ask you this question. If you said that your husband or your wife or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your partner or your friend weren't all that important, would any of them be around for very long? I don't think so, and neither would money. At my live seminars, some participants always come up to me and say, you know, Harv, money's not really that important. I look them directly in the eyes and say, you're broke, right? They usually look down at their feet and meekly reply with something like, well, right now I'm having a few financial challenges, but I retort, no, it's not right now, it's always. You've always been broke or close to it, yes or yes. At this point, they usually nod their head in agreement and woefully return to their seats, ready to listen and learn as they finally realize what a disastrous effect this one belief has had on their lives. Of course they're broke. Would you have a motorcycle if it wasn't important to you? Of course not. Would you have a pet parrot if it wasn't important to you? Of course not. In the same way, if you don't think that money is important, you simply won't have any. Listen up, my friends. Money is extremely important in the areas in which it works and extremely unimportant in the areas in which it doesn't. And although love may make the world go round, it sure doesn't pay for the building of any hospitals, churches, or homes. It also doesn't feed anybody. If I fail to persuade you and you still somehow believe that money's not important, then I only have 2 words for you. You're broke, and you always will be until you eradicate that non-supportive file from your financial blueprint. Victim clue number 3, complaining. Complaining is the absolute worst possible thing you could do for your health or your wealth. The worst. Why? I'm a big believer in the universal law that states, what you focus on expands. When you are complaining, what are you focusing on? What's right with your life or what's wrong with it? Well, you're obviously focusing on what's wrong with it. And since what you focus on expands, you'll keep getting more of what's wrong. Many teachers in the personal development field talk about the law of attraction. It states that like attracts like, meaning that when you are complaining, you are actually attracting crap into your life. Have you ever noticed that complainers usually have a tough life? It seems that everything that could go wrong does go wrong for them. They say, "Of course I complain. Look how crappy my life is." And now that you know better, you can explain to them, "No, it's because you complain that your life is so crappy. Shut up and don't stand near me." I stay as far away from complainers as possible because negative energy is infectious. Plenty of people, however, love to hang out and listen to complainers. Why? It's simple. They're waiting for their turn. "You think that's bad? Wait till you hear what happened to me." Here's some homework that I promise will change your life. For the next 7 days, I challenge you to not complain at all. Not just out loud, but in your head as well. I've given this challenge to thousands of people, and I'm blown away at how many of them have told me that this one teensy-weensy exercise has totally transformed their lives. I guarantee you'll be astonished at how amazing your life will be when you stop focusing on and thereby stop attracting crap into your life. Now you're ready to hear one of the greatest success secrets in the world. Are you ready? Listen to this carefully. There is no such thing as a really rich victim. Did you get that? I'll say it again. There's no such thing as a really rich victim. Besides, who would listen? Oh, I got a scratch on my yacht. To which almost anyone would respond, who gives a hoot? It's time to decide. You can be a victim or you can be rich, but you can't be both. Every time, and I mean every time you blame, justify, or complain, you are slitting your financial throat. Sure, it would be nice to use a kinder and gentler metaphor, but forget it. I'm not interested in kind and gentle right now. I'm interested in helping you see exactly what the hell you might be doing to yourself. It's time to take back your power and acknowledge that you create everything that is in your life and everything that is not in it. Realize that you create your wealth, you create your non-wealth, and you create every level in between. Now, place your hand on your heart and declare, I create the exact level of my financial success. Now, touch your head and say, I have a millionaire mind. I'd like you to take these millionaire mind actions. 1. Every time you catch yourself blaming, justifying, or complaining, slide your index finger across your neck as a trigger to remind yourself that you are slitting your financial throat. 2. Do a debrief. At the end of each day, write down one thing that went well and one thing that didn't. Then write the answer to the following question. How did I create each of these situations? This exercise will keep you accountable for your life and make you aware of the strategies that are working for you and the strategies that are not. Wealth file number 2. Rich people play the money game to win. Poor people play the money game not to lose. Poor people play the money game on defense rather than offense. Let me ask you, if you were to play any sport or any game strictly on defense, what are the chances of your winning that game? Most people would agree, slim and none. Yet that's exactly how most people play the money game. Their primary concern is survival and security instead of creating wealth and abundance. So what is your goal? What is your objective? What is your true intention? The goal of truly rich people is to have massive wealth and abundance. Not just some money, but lots of money. So what is the big goal of poor people? To have enough to pay the bills. And on time would be a miracle. Again, let me remind you of the power of intention. When your intention is to have enough to pay the bills, that's exactly how much you're going to get. Just enough to pay the bills and not a dime more. Middle-class people at least go a step further. Too bad it's a tiny step. Their big goal in life also happens to be their favorite word in the whole wide world. They just want to be comfortable. I hate to break the news to you, but there's a huge difference between being comfortable and being rich. I have to admit, I've had the experience of being on all three sides of the proverbial fence. I've been extremely broke, as in having to borrow $1 for gas for my car. But let me qualify that. First, it wasn't even my car. Second, that dollar came in the form of 4 quarters. Do you know how embarrassing it is for an adult to pay for gas with 4 quarters? The kid at the pump looked at me as if I were some kind of vending machine robber and then just shook his head and laughed. Once I got my act together, I graduated to the level of being comfortable. Comfortable is nice. At least you get to go out to decent restaurants for a change. But pretty well all I could order was chicken. Now, there's nothing wrong with chicken if that's what you really want, but often it's not. In fact, people who are only financially comfortable usually decide on what to eat by looking at the right-hand side of the menu, the price side. What would you like for dinner tonight, dear? I'll have this $7.95 dish. Let's see what it is. Surprise, surprise! It's the chicken for the 19th time this week. I have to say that for me personally, one of the best things about being rich is not having to look at the prices on the menu anymore. I eat exactly what I want to eat, regardless of the price. I can assure you, I didn't do that when I was broke or comfortable. It boils down to this. If your goal is to be comfortable, chances are you will never get rich. But if your goal is to be rich, chances are you'll end up mighty comfortable. One of the principles I teach in my Millionaire Mind seminars is, if you shoot for the stars, you'll at least hit the moon. Now place your hand on your heart and declare, my goal is to become a millionaire and more. Now touch your head and say, I have a millionaire mind. Here are your Millionaire Mind actions. 1. Write down 2 financial objectives that demonstrate your intention to create abundance, not mediocrity or poverty. Write play-to-win goals for your first, annual income, and second, your net worth. Make these goals achievable with a realistic time frame, yet at the same time, remember to shoot for the stars. 2. Go to an upscale restaurant and order a meal without asking how much it costs. If funds are tight, sharing is acceptable. P.S. No chicken. Wealth file number 3. Rich people are committed to being rich. Poor people want to be rich. Ask most people if they want to be rich, and they'd look at you as if you were crazy. Of course I want to be rich, they'd say. The truth, however, is that most people don't really want to be rich. Why? Because they have a lot of negative wealth files in their subconscious mind that tells them there's something wrong with being rich. At our Millionaire Mind Intensive, one of the questions we ask people is, what are some of the possible negatives about being rich or trying to get rich? Here's what some people have to say. See if you can relate to any of these. What if I make it and lose it? Then I'll really be a failure. I'll be at the highest tax bracket and I'll have to give half my money to the government. It's too much work. I could lose my health trying to get rich. Everyone's going to want a handout. I could be robbed. It's too much responsibility. I'll have to manage all that money. And on and on and on it goes. As I mentioned earlier, each of us has wealth files inside the cabinet called our mind. These files contain our personal beliefs that include why being rich would be wonderful. However, for most people, these files also include information as to why being rich might not be so wonderful. This means they have mixed internal messages about wealth. One part of them gleefully says, having more money will make life a lot more fun. But then another part screams, yeah, but I'm going to have to work like a dog. What's the fun in that? One part says, I'll be able to travel the world. Then the other part chirps in, yeah, and everyone in the world is going to want a handout. These mixed messages may seem innocent enough, but in reality, they're one of the major reasons most people never become rich. You can look at it like this. The universe, which is another way of saying higher power, is akin to a big mail order department. It is constantly delivering people, events, and things to you. You order what you get by sending energetic messages out to the universe based on your predominant beliefs. Again, based on the law of attraction, the universe will do its best to say yes and support you. But if you have mixed messages in your files, the universe can't understand what you want. The number one reason most people don't get what they want is because they don't know what they want. Rich people are totally clear that they want wealth. They are unwavering in their desire. They are fully committed to creating wealth. As long as it's legal, moral, and ethical, they will do whatever it takes to have wealth. Rich people do not send mixed messages to the universe. Poor people do. By the way, when you read the last paragraph, if a little voice inside your head said something to the effect of, "Rich people don't care if it's legal, moral, or ethical," you are definitely doing the right thing in listening to this recording. You'll soon find out what a detrimental way of thinking that really is. Earlier, we talked about the power of intention. I know it might be hard to believe, but you always get what you want subconsciously want, not what you say you want. Put bluntly, if you are not achieving the wealth you say you desire, there's a good chance it's because first, you subconsciously don't really want wealth, or second, you're not willing to do what it takes to create it. Let's explore further. There are actually 3 levels of so-called wanting. The first level is, I want to be rich. That's another way of saying, I'll take it if it falls in my lap. Wanting alone is useless. Have you ever noticed that wanting doesn't necessarily lead to having? Wealth does not come from merely wanting it. The second level of wanting is, I choose to be rich. This entails deciding to become rich. Choosing is a much stronger energy and goes hand in hand with being responsible for creating your reality. Good, but not good enough. The third level of wanting is, I commit to being rich. The definition of the word commit is to devote oneself unreservedly. This means holding absolutely nothing back, giving 100% of everything you've got to achieving the goal of creating wealth. It means being willing to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes. This is the warrior's way. No excuses, no ifs, no buts, no maybes, and failure is not an option. The warrior's way is simple. I will be rich or I will die trying. I commit to being rich. Try saying that to yourself. What comes up for you? For some, it feels empowering. For others, it feels daunting. Most people would never truly commit to being rich. If you ask them, would you bet your life that in the next 10 years you will be wealthy? Most would say, no way. That's the difference between rich people and poor people. It's precisely because people won't truly commit to being rich that they are not rich and most likely never will be. Some might say, Harv, what are you talking about? I work my butt off. I'm trying real hard. Of course I'm committed to being rich. And I would reply that your trying means very little. Again, the definition of commitment is to devote oneself unreservedly. The key word is unreservedly, which means you're putting everything, and I mean everything you've got into it. I hate to have to be the one to tell you this, but getting rich is not a stroll in the park, and anyone who tells you it is either knows a heck of a lot more than me or is a little out of integrity. In my experience, getting rich takes focus, courage, knowledge, expertise, 100% of your effort, a never-give-up attitude, and of course, a rich mindset. Again, what this means is that if you are not fully, totally, and truly committed to creating wealth, chances are you won't. Are you willing to work 16 hours a day? Rich people are. Are you willing to work 7 days a week and give up most of your weekends? Rich people are. Are you willing to sacrifice seeing your family, your friends, and give up your recreations and hobbies? Rich people are. Are you willing to risk all of your time, energy, and startup capital with no guarantee of returns? Rich people are. It's interesting to note that once you do commit, the universe will bend over backwards to assist you, guide you, support you, and even create miracles for you. But first, you have to commit. Now, place your hand on your heart and declare, I commit to being rich. And now, touch your head and say, I have a millionaire mind. Here are your millionaire mind actions. 1. Write a short paragraph on exactly why creating wealth is important to you. Be very specific. 2. Meet with a friend or family member who is willing to support you. Tell that person you want to evoke the power of commitment for the purpose of creating greater success. Put your hand on your heart. Look that person in the eye and repeat the following statement. I, and then state your name, do hereby commit to becoming a millionaire or more by such and such a date. When you're done, tell your partner to say, I believe in you. Then you say, thank you. Wealth file number 4. Rich people think big. Poor people think small. We once had a trainer teaching at one of our seminars who went from a net worth of $250,000 to over $600 million in only 3 years. When asked his secret, he said, everything changed the moment I began to think big. I refer you to the law of income, which states you will be paid in direct proportion to the value you deliver according to the marketplace. The key word is value. It's important to know that 4 factors determine your value in the marketplace: supply, demand, quality, and quantity. In my experience, the factor that presents the biggest challenge for most people is the quantity. The quantity factor simply means how much of your value do you actually deliver to the marketplace. Another way of stating this is how many people do you actually serve or affect. In my business, for instance, some trainers prefer teaching small groups of 20 people at a time. Others are comfortable with 100 participants in the room. Others like an audience of 500, and still others love audiences of 1,000 to 5,000 or more. Is there a difference in income amongst these trainers? You better believe there is. Near the beginning of this recording, I mentioned that I owned a chain of retail fitness stores. From the moment I even considered going into this business, my intention was to have 100 successful stores and affect tens of thousands of people. My competitor, on the other hand, who started 6 months after me, had the intention of owning 1 successful store. In the end, she earned a decent living. I got rich. How do you want to live your life? How do you want to play the game? Do you want to play in the big leagues or in the little leagues? In the majors or in the minors? Are you choosing to play big or play small? It's your choice. Most people choose to play small. Why? First, because of fear. They're scared to death of failure, and they're even more frightened of success. Second, people play small because they feel small. They don't feel they're good enough or important enough to make a real difference in people's lives. But hear this. Your life is not just about you. It's also about contributing to others. It's about living true to your mission and reasons for being here on this earth at this time. It's about adding your piece of the puzzle to the world. Most people are so stuck in their egos that everything revolves around me, and more me. But if you want to be rich, in the truest sense of the word, it can't only be about you. It has to include adding value to other people's lives. Do you know the definition of an entrepreneur? The definition we use in our programs is a person who solves problems for people at a profit. That's right. An entrepreneur is nothing more than a problem solver. So I ask you, would you rather solve problems for more people or fewer people? If you replied more, then you need to start thinking bigger and decide to help massive numbers of people, thousands, even millions. The byproduct is that the more people you help, the richer you become, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and definitely financially. Again, everyone has his or her unique purpose. Maybe you're a real estate investor and buy properties to rent them out and make money on cash flow and appreciation. What's your mission? How do you help? Well, there's a good chance you add value to your community by helping families find affordable housing they may not be able to find themselves. Now the question is, How many families and people can you assist? Are you willing to help 10 instead of 1, 20 instead of 10, 100 instead of 20? This is what I mean by playing big. My friends, the world doesn't need more people playing small. It's time to stop hiding out and start stepping out. It's time to stop needing and start leading. It's time to start sharing your gifts instead of hoarding them or pretending they don't exist. It's time you started playing the game of life in a big, big way. In the end, small thinking and small actions lead to being broke and unfulfilled. Big thinking and big actions lead to having both money and meaning. The choice is yours. Now, place your hand on your heart and declare, I think big. I choose to help thousands and thousands of people. And now touch your head and say, I have a millionaire mind. And here are your millionaire mind actions. 1. Write down what you believe to be your natural talents. These are things you've always been naturally good at. Also, write how and where you can use more of these gifts in your life and especially your work life. 2. Write down or brainstorm with a group of people how you can solve problems for 10 times the number of people you affect in your job or business right now. Come up with at least 3 different strategies. Think leverage. Wealth file number 5. Rich people focus on opportunities. Poor people focus on obstacles. Rich people see opportunities. Poor people see obstacles. Rich people see potential growth. Poor people see potential loss. Rich people focus on the rewards. Poor people focus on the risks. We're not talking positive thinking here. We're talking about your habitual perspective on the world. Poor people make choices based in fear. Their minds are constantly scanning for what's wrong or could go wrong in any situation. Middle-class people are slightly more optimistic. Their mindset is, I sure hope this works. Rich people, as we've said earlier, take responsibility for the results in their lives and act upon the mindset, it will work because I'll make it work. Rich people expect to succeed. They have confidence in their abilities. They have confidence in their creativity. And they believe that should the doo-doo hit the fan, they can find another way to succeed. Generally speaking, the higher the reward, the higher the risk. Because they constantly see opportunity, rich people are willing to take a risk. Rich people believe that if worse comes to worse, they can always make their money back. For the record, being willing to risk doesn't necessarily mean that you are willing to lose. Rich people take educated risks. This means they research, do their due diligence, and make decisions based on solid information and facts. Do rich people take forever to get educated? No. They do what they can in as short a time as possible, then make an informed decision to go for it or not. I know what I'm about to say may sound a little strange considering how much I value self-responsibility. However, I do believe a certain element of what many people call luck is associated with getting rich or, for that matter, with being successful at anything. In football, it might be the opposing team's player fumbling on your own 1-yard line with less than a minute to go, allowing your team to win the game. In golf, it could be the errant shot that hits an out-of-bounds tree and bounces back onto the green just 3 inches from the hole. In business, how many times have you heard of a guy who plops down some money on a piece of land in the boonies and 10 years later some conglomerate decides it wants to build a shopping center or office building on it? Meanwhile, this investor gets rich. So, was it a brilliant business move on his part or sheer luck? My guess is that it's a bit of both. The point, however, is that no luck or anything else worthwhile will come your way unless you take some form of action. To succeed financially, you have to do something, buy something, or start something. And when you do succeed, is it luck, or is it the universe or a higher power supporting you for having the courage and commitment to go for it? As far as I'm concerned, who cares what it is? It happens. Another key principle pertinent here is that rich people focus on what they want, while poor people focus on what they don't want. Again, the universal law states, what you focus on expands. Because rich people focus on the opportunities in everything, opportunities abound for them. Their biggest problem is handling all the incredible money-making possibilities they see. On the other hand, because poor people focus on the obstacles in everything, obstacles abound for them, and their biggest problem is handling all the incredible obstacles they see. Do you want some simple but extremely rare advice? Here it is. If you want to get rich, focus on making, keeping, and investing your money. If you want to be poor, focus on spending your money. You know, you could read 1,000 books and take 100 courses on success, but it all boils down to that. Remember, what you focus on expands. Rich people also understand that you can never know all the information beforehand. It's nuts to think that you can know everything that may happen in the future. It's delusional to believe that you can prepare for every circumstance that might someday occur and protect yourself from it. Did you know that there's no straight lines in the universe? Life doesn't travel in perfectly straight lines. It moves more like a winding river. More often than not, you can only see to the next bend, and only when you reach that next turn can you see more. So, just get in the game with whatever you've got from wherever you are. I call this entering the corridor. For example, years ago, I was planning on opening an all-night dessert cafe in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I studied location options, the marketplace, and found out what equipment I'd need. I also researched the kinds of cakes and pies and ice creams and coffees available. First big problem, I got really fat. Eating my research wasn't helpful. So I asked myself, Harv, what would be the best way to study this business? Then I heard this guy Harv, who was obviously a lot smarter than me, answer, if you really want to learn a business, get into it. You don't have to own the darn thing from day one. Get in the corridor by getting a job in the arena. You'll learn more by sweeping up a restaurant and washing dishes than by 10 years of research from the outside. I told you he was a lot smarter than me. And that's exactly what I did. I got a job at Mother Butler's Pie Shop. I wish I could tell you that they immediately recognized my superb talents and started me as CEO. But alas, somehow they just didn't see, nor did they care about, my executive leadership skills, and so I began as a busboy. That's right, sweeping the floor and clearing dishes. Funny how the power of intention works, isn't it? You might think that I must really have had to swallow my pride to do this, but the truth is, I never looked at it that way. I was on a mission to learn the pie business. I was grateful for the opportunity to learn it on someone else's ticket and make some pocket change to boot. During my tenure as the pie busboy, I spent as much time as possible shooting the doo-doo with the manager about revenues and profits, checking boxes to find out the names of the suppliers, and helping the baker at 4 a.m. to learn about equipment, ingredients, and the problems that could occur. A full week went by, and I guess I was pretty good at my job because the manager sat me down, fed me some pie, yuck, and promoted me to, drumroll please, cashier. I thought about it long and hard for exactly a nanosecond and replied, thanks, but no thanks. First, there was no way I could learn much being stuck behind a cash register. Second, I'd already learned what I came to learn. Mission accomplished. So that's what I mean by being in the corridor. It means entering the arena that you want to be in the future in any capacity to get started. This is far and away the best way to learn about a business because you see it from the inside. You make the contacts you need, which you could never have made from the outside. Also, once you're in the corridor, many other doors of opportunities may open to you. That is, once you witness what's really going on, you may discover a niche for yourself that you hadn't recognized before. And last, you may find that you really don't even like this field, and thank goodness you found out before you got in too deep. So which of the above happened for me? Well, by the time I was done with Mother Butler's, I couldn't stand the smell or even the sight of pie. And I wasn't the only one. The baker quit the day after I left, phoned me and explained that he had just found out about a hot new piece of exercise equipment known as gravity guidance inversion boots. You may have seen Richard Gere hang upside down in these in the movie American Gigolo. He wanted to know if I was interested in looking at them. I checked things out and decided the boots were dynamite, but he wasn't. So I got involved on my own. I began selling the boots to sporting goods and department stores. I noticed these retail outlets all had one thing in common: crummy exercise equipment. My brain bells went berserk. Opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. Funny how things happen. This ended up being my first experience selling exercise equipment, which eventually led me to opening one of the first retail fitness stores in North America and making my very first million. And to think, it all started as a busboy at Mother Butler's pie shop. The moral is simple: get in the corridor. You never know what doors will open unto you. I have a motto: action always beats inaction. Rich people get started. They trust that once they get in the game, they can make intelligent decisions in the present moment, make corrections, and adjust their sails along the way. Poor people don't trust in themselves or their abilities, so they believe they have to know everything in advance, which is virtually impossible. In the end, with their positive ready, fire, aim attitude, rich people take action and usually win. Now, place your hand on your heart and declare: I focus on opportunities over obstacles. I get ready, I fire, I aim. And touch your head and say, I have a millionaire mind. Here are your millionaire mind actions. 1. Consider a situation or project you've wanted to start. Whatever you've been waiting for, forget it. Begin now from wherever you are with whatever you've got. If possible, do it for or with someone else first to learn the ropes. If you've already learned, no more excuses. Just go for it. 2. Practice optimism. Today, whatever anyone says is a problem or an obstacle, reframe it into an opportunity. 3. Focus on what you have, not on what you don't have. I suggest you make a list of 10 things you're grateful for in your life and read the list aloud. Then read it each morning for the next 30 days. Wealth file number 6. Rich people admire other rich and successful people. Poor people resent rich and successful people. It's amazing to witness the resentment and even outright anger that many poor people have towards the rich, as if they believe that rich people make them poor. Yep, that's right. Rich people took all the money, so there's none left for me. Of course, this is perfect victim talk. I want to tell you a story, not to complain, but simply to relate a real-world experience I had with this principle. In the old days, when I was, say, financially challenged, I used to drive a clunker. Changing lanes in traffic was never a problem. Almost everybody would let me in. But when I got rich and bought a gorgeous new black Jaguar, I couldn't help but notice how things had changed. All of a sudden, I started getting cut off and sometimes even given the finger for added measure. I even got things thrown at me, all for one reason: I drove a Jag. One day, I was driving through a lower-end neighborhood in San Diego, delivering turkeys for a charity at Christmas time. I had the sunroof open, and I noticed 4 grimy guys perched in the back of a pickup truck behind me. Out of nowhere, they started playing basketball with my car by attempting to shoot beer cans into my open sunroof. 5 dents and several deep scratches later, they passed me screaming, "You rich bastard!" Of course, I figured this to be an isolated incident, until just 2 weeks later, in a different lower-end neighborhood, I parked my car in the street and returned to it less than 10 minutes later, only to discover that the entire side of my car had been keyed. The next time I went to that area of town, I rented a Ford Escort, and amazingly, I didn't have a single problem. I'm not implying that poorer neighborhoods have bad people, but in my experience, they sure seem to have plenty of folks who resent the rich. Who knows? Maybe it's some kind of chicken and egg thing. Is it because they're broke that they resent the rich? Or because they resent rich people that they're broke? As far as I'm concerned, who cares? It's all the same. They're still poor. It's easy to talk about not resenting the rich, but depending on your mood, falling into the trap can happen to anyone, even me. Recently, I was eating dinner in my hotel room about an hour before going on stage to teach an evening session of the Millionaire Mind seminar. I turned on the tube to check out the sports scores and found that Oprah was on. Although I'm not a big fan of television, I love Oprah. That woman has affected more people in a positive way than almost anyone else on the planet, and consequently, she deserves every penny she's got and more. Meanwhile, she's interviewing actress Halle Berry. They're discussing how Halle has just received one of the largest film contracts in history for a female actor, $20 million. Halle then says that she doesn't care about the money, that she's fought for this humongous contract to blaze a trail for other women to follow. I heard myself say skeptically, "Yeah, right. Do you think me and everyone else watching this show is an idiot? You should take a hunk of that dough and give your public relations agent a raise. That's the best soundbite writing I've ever heard." The moment I felt that negative energy run through me, my observation alarms went off. And as I've trained myself to do, I immediately neutralized the negativity in my mind. You know, you don't have to be perfect to get rich, but you do need to recognize when your thinking isn't empowering to yourself or others, and then quickly refocus on more supportive thoughts. When I moved to San Diego, we moved into a home in one of the richest parts of town. We loved the beauty of the home and the area, but I had some trepidation because I didn't know anyone and felt I didn't fit in yet. My plan was to stay low-key and not mix much with these rich snobs. As the universe would have it, however, my kids, who were 5 and 7 years old at the time, made friends with the other kids in the neighborhood, and pretty soon I was driving them to these mansions to drop them off to play. I remember knocking on a stunningly carved wooden door that was at least 20 feet high. The mom opened it up, and with the friendliest voice I'd ever heard, she said, "Harv, it's so great to meet you. Come on in." I was a bit bewildered as she poured me some iced tea and got me a bowl of fruit. "What's the catch?" my skeptical mind kept wanting to know. Then her husband came in from playing with the kids in the pool. He was even friendlier. "Harv, we're so happy to have you in the neighborhood. You have to come to our barbecue tonight with the rest of your family. We'll introduce you to everybody, and we're not taking no for an answer. By the way, do you golf? I'm playing at the club tomorrow. Why don't you come as my guest?" By now, I was in shock. What happened to the snobs I was sure I was going to meet? I left and went back home to tell my wife we were going to the barbecue. We went, and that evening met some of the warmest, kindest, generous, most loving people of our lives. At one point, the conversation shifted to a charity drive that one of the guests was heading up. One after another, the checkbooks came out. I couldn't believe it. I was actually watching a lineup to give this woman money. But each check came with a catch. The agreement was that there would be reciprocity and that the woman would support the charity the donor was involved in. That's right, to a T. Every person there either headed up or was a major player in a charity. Needless to say, my old conditioned belief that rich people were greedy snobs dissipated in the light of reality. Now I know the opposite to be true. In my experience, the richest people I know are the nicest people I know. They are also the most generous. Not to say that people who aren't rich aren't nice or generous, but I can safely say the idea that all rich people are somehow bad is nothing more than ignorance. The fact is, resenting the rich is one of the surest ways to stay broke. We're creatures of habit, and to overcome this or any other habit, we need to practice. So, instead of resenting rich people, I want you to practice admiring rich people. I want you to practice blessing rich people. And I want you to practice loving rich people. That way, unconsciously, you know that when you become rich, other people will admire you, bless you, and love you, instead of resent the heck out of you. Now, place your hand on your heart and declare, "I admire rich people. I bless rich people. I love rich people. And I'm going to be one of those rich people too." Go ahead and touch your head and say, "I have a millionaire mind." Here are your millionaire mind actions. 1. Practice the Huna philosophy, bless that which you want. Drive around or buy magazines. Look at beautiful homes, gorgeous cars, and read about successful businesses. Whatever you see that you like, bless it, and bless the owners or the people involved. 2. Write and send a short letter or email to someone you know of, not necessarily personally, who is highly successful in any arena, letting them know how much you admire and honor them for their achievements. Wealth file number 7. Rich people associate with positive, successful people. Poor people often associate with negative and unsuccessful people. Successful people look at other successful people as a means to motivate themselves. They see other successful people as models to learn from. They say to themselves, if they can do it, I can do it. Rich people are grateful that others have succeeded before them, so that they now have a blueprint to follow that will make it easier to attain their own success. Hey, why reinvent the wheel? There are proven methods for success that work virtually for everyone who applies them. Consequently, the fastest and easiest way to create wealth is to learn exactly how rich people who are masters of money play the game. The goal is to simply model their inner and outer strategies. It just makes sense. If you can take the exact same actions and have the exact same mindset, chances are good you'll get the exact same results. That's what I did, and that's what this entire recording is all about. Contrary to the rich, when poor people hear about other people's success, they often judge them, criticize them, mock them, and try to pull them down to their own level. How many of you know people like this? How many of you know family members like this? The question is this: how can you possibly learn from or be inspired by someone you put down? Whenever I'm introduced to an extremely rich person, I create a way to get together with them. I want to talk to them, learn how they think, utilize their contacts, and if we have other things in common, possibly become personal friends with them. I was recently doing a radio interview and a woman called in with an excellent question. What do I do if I'm positive and want to grow, but my husband is a downer? Do I leave him? Do I try and get him to change? What do I do? You know, I hear this question at least 100 times a week when I'm teaching our courses. Almost everyone comes to the stage with the same question. What if the people I'm closest to aren't into personal growth and even put me down for it? Here's the answer I gave the woman on the call, what I tell the people at our courses, and what I'm suggesting to you. First, don't bother trying to get negative people to change. That's not your job. Your job is to use what you've learned to better yourself and your life. Be the model. Be successful. Be happy. Then maybe, and I stress, maybe they'll see the light in you and want some of it. Again, energy is contagious. Darkness dissipates in light. Your job is simply to be the best you can be. Worst comes to worst. If you just can't handle their non-supportive energy anymore, if it's bringing you down to a point where you're not able to grow, you may have to make some courageous decisions about who you are and how you want to live the rest of your life. I'm not suggesting you do anything rash, but I, for one, would never live with a person who was negative and poo-pooed my desire to learn and grow, be it personally, spiritually, or financially. I wouldn't do that to myself because I respect myself and my life, and I deserve to be as happy and successful as possible. The way I figure it, there are over 6.3 billion people in the world, and there's no way I'm going to saddle myself with a downer. Either they move up or I move on. I'm sure you've heard the saying, birds of a feather flock together. Did you know that most people earn within 20% of the average income of their closest friends? That's why you better watch whom you associate with and choose whom you spend your time with very, very carefully. From my experience, rich people don't just join the country club to play golf, they join to meet other rich and successful people. There's another saying that goes, it's not what you know, it's who you know. As far as I'm concerned, you can take that to the bank. In short, if you want to fly with the eagles, don't swim with the ducks. I also make it a point to remove myself from toxic situations. I see no reason for infecting myself with poisonous energy. Among these, I would include arguing, gossiping, and backstabbing. I would also include watching mindless television, unless you use it specifically as a relaxation strategy instead of your sole form of entertainment. When I watch TV, it's usually sports. First, because I enjoy seeing masters at anything at work, or in this case, play. And second, because I enjoy listening to the interviews after the games. I love listening to the mindset of champions, and to me, anyone who has made it as far as the big leagues in any sport is a champion. During the 2004 Olympic Games, Perdita Felicien, a Canadian and the reigning world champion in the 100-meter hurdles, was heavily favored to win the gold medal. In the final race, she hit the first hurdle and fell hard. She wasn't able to complete the race. Extremely upset, she had tears in her eyes as she lay there in bewilderment. She had prepared for this moment 6 hours a day, every day of the week for the past 4 years. The next morning, I saw her news conference. I wish I had taped it. It was amazing to listen to her perspective. She said something to the effect of, "I don't know why it happened, but it did, and I'm going to use it. I'm going to focus even more and work even harder for the next 4 years. Who knows what my path would have been had I won? Maybe it would have dulled my desire. I don't know, but I do know that now I'm hungrier than ever. I'll be back even stronger. Just you watch." As I heard her speak, all I could say was, "Wow!" You know, you can learn a lot from listening to champions. Rich people hang out with winners. Poor people hang out with losers. Why? It's a matter of comfort. Rich people are comfortable with other successful people. They feel fully worthy of being with them. Poor people are uncomfortable with highly successful people. They're either afraid they'll be rejected or they feel as if they don't belong. To protect itself, the ego then goes into judgment and criticism. I hope you get the point. Instead of mocking rich people, model them. Instead of shying away from rich people, get to know them. Instead of saying, "Wow, they're so special," say, "If they can do it, I can do it." Eventually, if you want to touch a millionaire, you'll be able to touch yourself. Now, place your hand on your heart and declare, "I model rich and successful people. I associate with rich and successful people. If they can do it, I can do it." And go ahead and touch your head and say, "I have a millionaire mind." Take these millionaire mind actions. 1. Go to the library, a bookstore, or the internet and read a biography of someone who is or was extremely rich and successful. Andrew Carnegie, John D. Rockefeller, Mary Kay, Donald Trump, Warren Buffett, and Bill Gates are all some good examples. Use their story for inspiration, for learning specific success strategies, and most importantly, for copying their mindset. 2. Join a high-end club, such as for tennis, health, business, or golf. Mingle with rich people in a rich environment. Or, if there's no way you can afford to join a high-end club, have coffee or tea in the classiest hotel in your city. Get comfortable in this atmosphere and watch the patrons, noticing they're no different from you. 3. Identify a situation or a person who is a downer in your life. Remove yourself from that situation or association. If it's family, you might just have to choose to be around them less. 4. Stop watching trash TV and stay away from bad news. Wealth file number 8. Rich people are willing to promote themselves and their value. Poor people think negatively about selling and promotion. My company, Peak Potentials Training, offers over a dozen different programs. During the initial seminar, usually the Millionaire Mind Intensive, we briefly mention a few of our other courses, then offer the participants special at-seminar tuition rates and bonuses. It's interesting to note the reactions. Most people are thrilled. They appreciate getting to hear what the other courses are about and to receive the special pricing. Some people, however, are not so thrilled. They resent any promotion regardless of how it might benefit them. If this sounds in any way like you, it's an important characteristic to notice about yourself. Resenting promotion is one of the greatest obstacles to success. People who have issues with selling and promotion are usually broke. It's obvious. How can you create a large income in your own business or as a representative of one if you aren't willing to let people know that you, your product, or your service exists? Even as an employee, if you aren't willing to promote your virtues, someone who is willing will quickly bypass you on the corporate ladder. People have a problem with promotion or sales for several reasons. Chances are you might recognize one or more of the following. First, you may have had a bad experience in the past with people promoting to you inappropriately. Maybe you perceived they were doing the hard sell on you. Maybe they were bothering you at an inopportune time. Maybe they wouldn't take no for an answer. In any case, it's important to recognize that this experience is in the past and that holding on to it may not be serving you today. Second, you may have had a disempowering experience when you tried to sell something to someone and that person totally rejected you. In this instance, your distaste for promotion is merely a projection of your own fear of failure and rejection. Third, your issue might come from past parental programming. Many of us were told that it's impolite to toot your own horn. Well, that's great if you make a living as Miss Manners, but in the real world, when it comes to business and money, if you don't toot your horn, I guarantee nobody else will. You're probably familiar with this saying, build a better mousetrap and the world will be the path to your door. Well, that's only true if you add 5 words, and those are, if they know about it. Rich people are almost always excellent promoters. They can and are willing to promote their products, their services, and their ideas with passion and enthusiasm. What's more, they're skilled at packaging their value in a way that's extremely attractive. If you think there's something wrong with that, then let's ban makeup for women. And while we're at it, we might as well get rid of suits for men. All that is nothing more than packaging. The critical point here isn't whether you like to promote or not, it is why you're promoting. It boils down to your beliefs. Do you really believe in your value? Do you really believe in the product or service you're offering? Do you really believe that what you have will be of benefit to whomever you're promoting it to? If you believe in your value, how could it possibly be appropriate to hide it from people who need it? Suppose you had a cure for arthritis, and you met someone who was suffering and in pain with the disease. Would you hide it from him or her? Would you wait for that person to read your mind or guess that you have a product that could help? What would you think of someone who didn't offer suffering people their opportunity because they were too shy, too afraid, or too cool to promote? More often than not, people who have a problem with promotion don't fully believe in their product or don't fully believe in themselves. Consequently, it is difficult for them to imagine that other people believe so strongly in their value that they want to share it with everyone who comes their way and in any way they can. If you believe that what you have to offer can truly assist people, it is your duty to let as many people as possible know about it. In this way, you not only help people, you get rich. Now, place your hand on your heart and declare, I promote my value to others with passion and enthusiasm. Go ahead and touch your head and say, I have a millionaire mind. Here are your millionaire mind actions. 1. Rate the product or service you are currently offering or you are planning to offer from 1 to 10 in terms of how much you believe in its value, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. If your rating result is 7 to 9, revise your product or service to increase the value. If your result is 6 or below, stop offering that product or service and start representing something you truly believe in. 2. Read books, listen to audios and CDs, and take courses on marketing and sales. Become an expert in both of those arenas to a point where you can promote your value successfully and with 100% integrity. Wealth file number 9. Rich people are bigger than their problems. Poor people are smaller than their problems. As I said earlier, getting rich is not a stroll in the park. This is a journey that is full of twists, turns, detours, and obstacles. The road to wealth is fraught with traps and pitfalls, and that's precisely why most people don't take it. They don't want the hassles, the headaches, the responsibilities. In short, they don't want the problems. Poor people will do almost anything to avoid problems. They see a challenge and they run. The irony is that in their quest to make sure they don't have problems, they have the biggest problem of all. They're broke and miserable. The secret to success, my friends, is not to try and avoid or get rid of or shrink from your problems. The secret is to grow yourself so that you are bigger than any problem. Whether you are rich or poor, playing big or playing small, problems do not go away. If you're breathing, you will always have so-called problems and obstacles in your life. Let me make this short and sweet. The size of the problem is never the issue. What matters is the size of you. This may be painful, but if you're ready to move to the next level of success, you're going to have to become conscious of what's really going on in your life. Are you ready? Here goes. If you have a big problem in your life, all that means is that you are being a small person. Don't be fooled by appearances. Your outer world is merely a reflection of your inner world. If you want to make a permanent change, stop focusing on the size of your problems and start focusing on the size of you. Take a full breath and decide right now, in this very moment, you will be a bigger person and not allow any obstacle or problem to take you out of either your happiness or success. The bigger the problems you can handle, the bigger the business you can handle, the bigger the responsibility you can handle, the more employees you can handle, the more customers you can handle, the more money you can handle, and ultimately, the more wealth you can handle. Again, your wealth can only grow to the extent that you do. The objective is to grow yourself to a place where you can overcome any problems or obstacles that get in the way of your creating wealth and keeping it once you have it. One of the reasons rich people are bigger than their problems goes back to what we discussed earlier. They don't focus on the problem. They focus on their goal. Again, the mind generally focuses on one predominant thing at a time, meaning that either you are whining about the problem or you are working on the solution. Rich and successful people are solution-oriented. They spend their time and energy strategizing and planning the answers to challenges that come up and creating systems to make certain that problem doesn't come up again. Poor and unsuccessful people are problem-oriented. They spend their time and energy bitching and complaining and seldom come up with anything creative to alleviate the problem, let alone make sure it doesn't happen again. Rich people do not back away from problems, do not avoid problems, and do not complain about problems. Rich people are financial warriors. In our seminars, the definition of a warrior we use is one who conquers oneself. The bottom line is that if you become a master at handling problems and overcoming any obstacle, what can stop you from success? The answer is nothing. And if nothing can stop you, you become unstoppable. And if you become unstoppable, what choices do you have in your life? The answer is all the choices. If you are unstoppable, anything and everything becomes available to you. You simply choose it and it's yours. How's that for freedom? Now place your hand on your heart and declare, I am bigger than any problems. I can handle any problems. Go ahead and touch your head now and say, I have a millionaire mind. Here are your millionaire mind actions. 1. Whenever you are feeling upset over a big problem, point to yourself and say, mini-me, mini-me, mini-me. Then take a deep breath and say to yourself, I can handle this. I am bigger than any problem. 2. Write down a problem you are having in your life right now. Then list 10 specific actions you can take to resolve or at least improve this situation. This will move you from problem thinking into solution thinking. First, there's a good chance you'll solve the problem. Second, you'll feel a heck of a lot better. Wealth file number 10. Rich people are excellent receivers. Poor people are poor receivers. If I had to nail down the number one reason most people do not reach their full financial potential, it would be this. Most people are poor receivers. They may or may not be good at giving, but they are definitely bad at receiving. And because they are poor at receiving, they don't. People are challenged by receiving for several reasons. First, many people feel unworthy or undeserving. This syndrome runs rampant in our society. I would guess that over 90% of individuals have feelings of not being good enough running through their veins. Where does this low self-esteem come from? The usual, our conditioning. For most of us, it comes from hearing 20 no's for every yes, 10 you're doing it wrongs for every you're doing it right, and 5 you're stupids for every you're awesome. Even if our parents or guardians were incredibly supportive, many of us end up with feelings of not being able to continually measure up to their accolades and expectations. So once again, we're not good enough. No wonder people have difficulty receiving. One tiny mistake and you're doomed to carry the burden of misery and poverty for the rest of your life. A little harsh, you say? Well, since when did the mind become logical or compassionate? Again, the conditioned mind is a file folder filled with past programming, made-up meanings, and stories of drama and disaster. Making sense is not its strong suit. Here's something I teach in my seminars that might make you feel better. In the end, it doesn't matter whether you feel worthy or not. You can be rich either way. Plenty of wealthy people don't feel overly worthy. In fact, it's one of the major motivations for people to get rich, to prove themselves and their worth to others. The idea that self-worth is necessary for net worth is just that, an idea. But it doesn't necessarily hold water in the real world, in case you haven't noticed. Of course, getting rich to prove yourself may not make you the happiest camper, so you're better off creating wealth for other reasons. But what's important here is for you to realize that your feeling of unworthiness won't prevent you from getting rich, and from a strictly financial point of view, could actually be a motivational asset. Having said that, right now, I want you to get what I'm going to share with you loud and clear. This could easily be one of the most important moments of your life. Are you ready? Here goes. Recognize that whether you are worthy or not is all a made-up story. Again, nothing has meaning except for the meaning we give it. I don't know about you, but I've never heard of anybody who went through the stamping line at birth. Can you imagine God stamping each person's forehead as he or she came through? Worthy, unworthy, worthy, unworthy, worthy, unworthy. Yuck! Definitely unworthy. Sorry, I don't think it works that way. You decide. You and you alone determine if you're going to be worthy. It's simply your perspective. If you say you're worthy, you are. If you say you're not worthy, you're not. Either way, you will live into your story. This is so critical, I'm going to repeat that again. You will live into your story. It's just that simple. So why would people do this to themselves? Why would people make up the story that they're not worthy? It's just the nature of the human mind. One of my own sayings is this: if a 100-foot oak tree had the mind of a human being, it would only grow to be 10 feet tall. So here's my suggestion. Since it's a lot easier to change your story than your worthiness, instead of worrying about changing your worthiness, change your story. It's a lot faster and a lot cheaper. Simply make up a new and much more supportive story and live into that. Oh, but I couldn't do that, you say. I'm not qualified to decide that I'm worthy. That has to come from someone else. Sorry, I say that's not quite accurate, which is a nice way of saying bull-poo. It wouldn't make a difference what anyone says or said in the past, because you have to believe it and buy into it for it to have any effect, and that can't come from anyone else but you. But just to make you feel better, let's play the game, and I'll do for you what I do for thousands of participants at the Millionaire Mind Intensive. I will personally anoint you. Now, this is a special ceremony, so I'm going to ask you to eliminate any distractions right now. Stop whatever you're doing. Men, if you like, you can change into a suit and tie, although a tuxedo would be best. Women, a formal evening gown and heels would be perfect. And if you don't have anything that's classy or new enough, this would definitely be an occasion to go buy yourself a brand new dress, designer label preferred. If you're all ready, let's begin. Please kneel down on one knee and bow your head in respect. Ready? Here goes. By the power invested in me, I hereby anoint you as worthy from now until forever. Okay, we're done. You can stand up now and hold your head high because you're finally worthy. Here's some sage advice. Stop buying into that worthiness or unworthiness crap and start taking the actions you need to take to get rich. The second major reason most people have a problem with receiving is that they have bought into the adage, it's better to give than to receive. Let me put this as elegantly as possible. What a crock! Think about it. How could you give if there weren't someone or something there to receive? Both have to be in perfect balance to work here, 1-to-1, 50-50. And since giving and receiving must always equal each other, they must also be equal in importance to each other. Besides, how does it feel to give? Most of us would agree that giving feels wonderful and fulfilling. Conversely, how does it feel when you want to give and the other person isn't willing to receive? Most of us, again, would agree that it feels terrible. So know this. If you're not willing to receive, then you are ripping off those who want to give to you. You are actually denying them the joy and pleasure that comes from giving. Instead, they feel terrible. Why? Again, everything is energy, and when you want to give but can't, that energy cannot be expressed and it gets stuck inside of you. That stuck energy then turns into negative emotions. To make matters even worse, when you are not willing to fully receive, you are training the universe not to give to you. It's simple. If you aren't willing to receive your share, it will go to someone else who is. That's one of the reasons the rich get richer and the poor get, well, poorer. Not because they're any more worthy, but because they are willing to receive while poor people are not. I learned this lesson in a big way while camping by myself in the forest. In preparation for my 2-day trip, I made what's called a lean-to. This means tying the top part of a tarp to a tree and then fastening the bottom to the ground to create a 45-degree roof over my head when I slept. Thank goodness I prepared this mini condo because it rained all night. When I came out of my shelter that morning, I was noticing how dry I and everything under the tarp was. At the same time, however, I couldn't help but notice this unusually deep puddle that had collected at the bottom of the tarp. All of a sudden, I heard this inner voice say to me, nature is totally abundant, but not discriminating. When the rain falls, it has to go somewhere. If one part is dry, another part will be doubly wet. As I stood over the puddle, I realized this is exactly the way it works with money. There's plenty of it, trillions and trillions of dollars floating around. It's indefinite abundance, and it has to go somewhere. The deal is this. If somebody isn't willing to receive his or her share, it must go to whoever will. The rain doesn't care who gets it, and neither does money. At this point in the Millionaire Mind seminar, I teach people the special prayer I created after my experience under the tarp. Of course, it's a little tongue-in-cheek, but the lesson is obvious. It goes like this. Universe, if anyone has something great coming to them and they're not willing to take it, send it to me. I am open and willing to receive all of your blessings. Thank you. I have the entire audience repeat this with me, and they go crazy. They're excited because it feels amazing to be totally willing to receive, and it feels great because it's totally natural to do so. Anything you made up to the contrary is again just a story that isn't serving you or anyone else. Let your story go and your money come. Rich people work hard and believe it's perfectly appropriate to be well rewarded for their efforts and the value they provide for others. Poor people work hard, but due to their feelings of unworthiness, they believe that it's inappropriate for them to be well rewarded for their efforts and the value that they provide. This belief sets them up to be perfect victims. And of course, how can you be a good victim if you are well rewarded? Many poor people actually believe they are better people because they are poor. Somehow they believe they're more pious or spiritual or good. Baloney! The only thing poor people are is poor. This leads me to an important point. If you have the wherewithal to have a lot of money, I suggest make sure you have it. Why? Because the truth is that we are extremely fortunate to be living in this society, a society whereby each person is in fact rich compared to many other parts of the world. Some people just don't ever have the opportunity to have a lot of money. And if you are one of the lucky people who do have that ability, and each of you are or you wouldn't be listening right now, then use your wherewithal for all it's worth. Get really, really rich, and then help people who don't have the opportunity that you did. That makes a lot more sense to me than being broke and helping no one. So what to do? How do you become a good receiver? First, begin to nurture yourself. Remember, people are creatures of habit, and therefore you will have to consciously practice receiving the best that life has to offer. One of the key elements in the money management system we teach in the Millionaire Mind seminar is having a play account where you get to blow a designated amount of money on things that nurture you and would allow you to feel like a million. The idea of this account is to help you validate your worthiness and strengthen your receiving muscle. Second, I want you to practice going crazy with excitement and gratitude anytime you find or receive any money. It's funny, when I was broke and I saw a penny on the ground, I would never stoop so low as to pick up a lousy penny. Now that I'm rich, however, I jump for joy and pick up anything that even looks like money. Then I give it a kiss for good luck and declare out loud, "I'm a money magnet! Thank you, thank you, thank you!" I don't stand there judging the denomination. Money is money, and finding money is a blessing from the universe. Now that I'm fully willing to receive anything and everything that comes my way, I usually do. The only thing you'll have to remember is to keep saying thank you for all of your blessings. Now, place your hand on your heart and declare, "I am an excellent receiver. I am open and willing to receive massive amounts of money into my life." Touch your head and say, "I have a millionaire mind." Here are your Millionaire Mind actions. 1. Practice being an excellent receiver. Each time someone gives you a compliment of any sort, simply say thank you. Do not return a compliment to that person at the same time. This allows you to fully receive and own the compliment instead of deflecting it, as most people do. 2. Any, and I mean any, money you find or receive should enthusiastically be celebrated. Go ahead and scream out, "I'm a money magnet! Thank you, thank you, thank you!" 3. Pamper yourself. At least once a month, do something special to nurture yourself and your spirit. Get a massage, a manicure, or a pedicure. Take yourself out for an extravagant lunch or dinner. Rent a boat or a weekend cottage. Have someone bring you breakfast in bed. Do things that will allow you to feel rich and deserving. Wealth file number 11. Rich people choose to get paid based on results. Poor people choose to get paid based on time. Have you ever heard this advice? Go to school, get good grades, get a good job, get a steady paycheck, be on time, work hard, and you'll live happily ever after. I don't know about you, but I'd sure love to see the written guarantee on that one. Unfortunately, this sage advice comes directly from the Book of Fairy Tales, Volume 1, right after the Tooth Fairy story. I'm not going to bother debunking the entire statement. You can do that for yourself by checking your own experience and the lives of everyone around you. What I will discuss is the idea behind the steady paycheck. There's nothing wrong with getting a steady paycheck unless it interferes with your ability to earn what you're worth. There's the rub. It usually does. Poor people prefer to be paid a steady salary or hourly wage. They need the security of knowing that exactly the same amount of money is coming in at exactly the same time, month in, month out. What they don't realize is that this security comes with a price, and the cost is wealth. Living based in security is living based in fear. What you're actually saying is, I'm afraid I won't be able to earn enough based on my performance, so I'll settle for earning just enough to survive or to be comfortable. Rich people prefer to get paid based on the results they produce, if not totally, then at least partially. Rich people usually own their own businesses in some form. They make their income from their profits. Rich people work on commission or percentages of revenue. Rich people choose stock options and profit sharing in lieu of higher salaries. Notice there are no guarantees with any of the above. As stated earlier, in the financial world, the rewards are usually proportionate to the risk. Rich people believe in themselves. They believe in their value and in their ability to deliver it. Poor people don't. That's why they need guarantees. Poor people trade their time for money. The problem with this strategy is that your time is limited. This means you end up breaking a major wealth rule, which states, never, I repeat, never have a ceiling on your income. If you choose to get paid for your time, you are pretty much killing your chances for wealth. At my seminars, I often meet salaried or hourly wage employees who complain to me that they're not getting paid what they're worth. My response is, in whose opinion? I'm sure your boss thinks you're being compensated fairly. Why don't you get off the salary treadmill and ask to be paid based fully or partially on your performance? Or if that's not possible, why not work for yourself? Then you'll know you're making exactly what you're worth. The fear most people have of being paid based on the results is often just a fear of breaking out of their old conditioning. In my experience, most people who are stuck in the steady paycheck rut have past programming that tells them this is the normal way to get paid for your work. Personally, I believe just about everyone should own their own business, be it full-time or part-time. The first reason is that by far the vast majority of millionaires became rich by being in their own business. It's extremely difficult to create wealth when the tax man is grabbing almost half of everything you earn. When you own a business, you can save a small fortune in tax by writing off a portion of your expenses for such things as your car, travel, education, and even your home. For the tax reason alone, it's worth having your own business. If you don't have a brilliant business idea, not to worry. You can use someone else's. First, you can become a commissioned salesperson. Selling is one of the world's highest paid professions. If you're good, you can earn a fortune. Second, you can join a network marketing company. There are dozens of excellent ones, and they have in place all of the products and systems you need to get started immediately. For just a few bucks, you can become a distributor and have all the benefits of owning a business with very few of the administrative hassles. If it resonates with you, network marketing can be a dynamite vehicle for wealth. But, and this is a big but, don't think for a minute that you're going to get a free ride. Network marketing will only work if you do. It will take training, time, and energy to succeed. But if you do, incomes in the range of $20,000 to even $50,000 a month, that's right, a month, are not uncommon. In any case, just signing up and becoming a part-time distributor will give you some excellent tax advantages, and who knows, maybe you'll enjoy the product enough to offer it to others and end up making a nice income to boot. Another option is exchanging your job for a contract position. If your employer is willing, he or she can hire your company instead of you to do basically what you're doing now. A few legal requirements have to be fulfilled, but for the most part, if you add 1 or 2 more clients, even part-time, you can get paid as a business owner instead of an employee and enjoy the business owner tax benefits. In the end, the only way to earn what you're really worth is to get paid based on your results. It was my dad who said it best. He said, "You'll never get rich working on straight salary for someone else. If you're going to get a job, make sure you get paid on percentage. Otherwise, go to work for yourself." Now that's sage advice. Now place your hand on your heart and declare, "I choose to get paid based on my results." And go ahead and touch your head now and say, "I have a millionaire mind." Here are your millionaire mind actions. 1. If you are currently in a job getting paid based on an hourly wage or salary, create and propose a compensation plan to your employer that would allow you to get paid at least partly based on your individual results as well as the results of the company. If you own your own business, create a compensation plan that allows your employees to get paid based more on their results and the results of your company. Put these plans into action immediately. 2. If you are currently in a job and not being paid what you are worth based on the results you are producing, immediately start your own business. You can begin part-time. You could easily join a network marketing company or become a coach, teaching others what you know, or offer your independent consulting services back to the company you originally worked for, but this time paid on performance and results rather than only for your time. Wealth file number 12. Rich people think both. Poor people think either or. Rich people live in a world of abundance. Poor people live in a world of limitations. Of course, both live in the same physical world, but the difference is in their perspective. Poor and most middle-class people come from scarcity. They live by mottos such as, "There's only so much to go around," "There's never enough," and "You can't have everything." And although you may not be able to have everything, as in all the things in the world, I do think you can certainly have everything you really want. Do you want a successful career or a close relationship with your family? Both. Do you want to focus on business or have fun and play? Both. Do you want money or meaning in your life? Both. Do you want to earn a fortune or do the work you love? Both. Poor people always choose one. Rich people choose both. Rich people understand that with a little creativity, you can almost always figure out a way to have the best of both worlds. From now on, when confronted with an either-or alternative, the quintessential question to ask yourself is, how can I have both? This question will change your life. This doesn't just pertain to things you want, it pertains to all areas of your life. For example, several months ago, I decided to purchase a vacation home in Arizona. I scoured the area I was interested in, and every real estate agent told me the same thing. If you want 3 bedrooms plus a den in that vicinity, you're going to have to pay over $1 million. My intention was to keep my investment in this home under $1 million. Most people would have either lowered their expectations or raised their budget. I held out for both. I recently got a call that the owners of a house in the exact location I wanted, with the number of rooms that I wanted, had reduced their price by over $200,000 to under $1 million. Just another tribute to the power of intention. Poor and many middle-class people believe that they have to choose between money and the other aspects of life. Consequently, they've rationalized a position that money is not important, at least not as important as other things. Let's set the record straight. Money is important. To say that it's not as important as any of the other things in life is ludicrous. What's more important, your arm or your leg? Could it be that both are important? Happiness is important too. Again, here's where poor and middle-class people get confused. Many believe money and happiness are mutually exclusive, that either you can be rich or you can be happy. Again, this is nothing more than poor programming. People who are rich in every sense of the word understand that you have to have both. Just as you have to have both your arms and your legs, you have to have both money and happiness. Here's another major difference between rich people, middle-class people, and poor people. Rich people believe you can have your cake and eat it too. Middle-class people believe cake is too rich, so I'll only have a little piece. And poor people, well, they don't believe they deserve cake, so they order a donut, focus on the hole, and wonder why they have nothing. I ask you, what is the use of having your cake if you can't eat it? What exactly are you supposed to do with it? Put it on your mantle and look at it? Either-or thinking also trips up people who believe that if I have more, then someone else will have less. Again, this is nothing more than fear-based, self-defeating programming. The notion that the wealthy people of the world have and are somehow hoarding all the money so that there's none left for anyone else is preposterous. First, this belief assumes that there is a limited supply of money. I'm not an economist, but from what I can see, they just keep printing more of this stuff every day. The actual money supply hasn't been tied to any real asset for decades. So, even if the wealthy had all the money today, tomorrow there'd be millions, if not billions, more available. The lessons are clear. First, money does not get depleted. You can use the same money again and again for years and years and thousands of different people. Second, the more money you have, the more you can put into circulation, which means other people then have more money to trade for more value. Put bluntly, if you're so worried about other people and making sure that they get their share, as if there is a share, do what it takes to get rich so you can spread more money around. If I can be an example for anything, it would be that you can be a kind, conscious, loving, caring, generous, and spiritual person and be really frickin' rich. I strongly urge you to dispel the myth that money is in any way bad or that you will be less good or less pure if you are wealthy. My friends, being kind, generous, and loving has nothing to do with what is or isn't in your wallet. Those attributes come from what is in your heart. Being pure and spiritual have nothing to do with what is or isn't in your bank account. Those attributes come from what's in your soul. To think that money makes you good or bad, one way or another, is either or thinking, and just plain programmed garbage that is not supportive to either your happiness or your success. It's also not supportive to those around you, especially to children. If you are that adamant about being a good person, then please be good enough not to infect the next generation with the disempowering beliefs you may have adopted. If you really want to live a life without limits, whatever the situation, let go of either or thinking and maintain the intention to have both. Now, place your hand on your heart and declare, I think both. And touch your head and say, I have a millionaire mind. Here are your millionaire mind actions. 1. Practice thinking of and creating ways of having both. Whenever alternatives are presented to you, ask yourself, how can I have both? 2. Become aware that money in circulation adds to everyone's life. Each time you spend money, say to yourself, this money will go through hundreds of people and create value for all of them. 3. Think of yourself as a role model for others so they can witness the combination of being kind, generous, loving, and rich. Wealth file number 13. Rich people focus on their net worth. Poor people focus on their working income. When it comes to money, people in our society typically ask, how much do you make? Seldom do you hear the question, what's your net worth? Few people talk this way, except, of course, at the country club. In country clubs, the financial discussion almost always centers around net worth. Jim just sold his stock options. He's worth over $3 million. Paul's company just went public. He's worth $8 million. Sue just sold her business. She's now worth $12 million. At the country club, you're not going to hear, hey, did you hear that Joe got a raise? Yeah, and a 2% cost of living allowance to boot. If you did hear that, you'd know you're listening to a guest for the day. The true measure of wealth is net worth, not working income. Always has been, always will be. Net worth is the financial value of everything you own. To determine your net worth, simply add up the value of everything you own, including your cash and investments such as stocks, bonds, real estate, and the current value of your business if you own one, the value of your residence if you own it, and then subtract everything you owe. Net worth is the ultimate measure of wealth because if necessary, what you own can eventually be liquidated into cash. Rich people understand the huge distinction between working income and net worth. Working income is important, but it should be understood as one of 4 elements or pillars of your net worth, as part of your full financial picture. The 4 net worth factors are 1. Income 2. Savings 3. Investments 4. Simplification. Rich people understand that building a high net worth is an equation that contains all four elements. Because all of these factors are essential, let's examine each one. Income comes in two forms: working income and passive income. Working income is the money earned from active work. This includes a paycheck from a day-to-day job, or for an entrepreneur, the profits or income taken from a business. Working income requires that you are investing your own time and labor to earn money. Working income is important because without it, it is almost impossible to address the other three net worth factors. Working income is how we fill up our financial funnel, so to speak. All things being equal, the more working income you earn, the more you can save and invest. Although working income is critical, again, it is only valuable as a part of the entire net worth equation. Unfortunately, out of the four factors, poor and many middle-class people focus exclusively on working income. Consequently, they end up with low or no net worth. Passive income is money earned without you actively working. We will discuss passive income in greater detail a little later, but for now, consider it another stream of income filling up the funnel, which can then be used for spending, savings, and investing. Savings are also imperative. You can earn wads of money, but if you don't keep any of it, you will never create wealth. Many people have a financial blueprint that is wired for spending. Whatever money they have, they spend. They choose immediate gratification over long-term balance. But without creating income to fill the funnel and savings to keep it there, it is impossible to address the next net worth factor. Now, once you've begun saving a decent portion of your income, then you can move to the next stage and make your money grow through investing. Generally, the better you are at investing, the faster your money will grow and generate a greater net worth. Rich people take the time and energy to learn about investing and investments. They pride themselves on being excellent investors, or at least hiring excellent investors to invest for them. Poor people think investing is only for rich people, so they never learn about it and stay broke. Again, every part of the equation is important. Our fourth net worth factor may well be the dark horse of the bunch, because few people recognize its importance in creating wealth. This is the factor of simplification. It goes hand in hand with saving money. The idea here is to consciously create a lifestyle in which you need less money to live on. By decreasing your cost of living, you increase your savings and the amount of funds available for investment. To illustrate the power of simplification, here's the story of one of our Millionaire Mind seminar participants. When Sue was only 23, she made a very wise choice. She purchased a home. She paid just under $300,000 at the time. 7 years later, in a sizzling hot market, Sue sold that same home for over $600,000, meaning she profited over $300,000. She considered buying a new home, but after attending the Millionaire Mind seminar, she recognized that if she invested her money in a secure second mortgage at 10% interest and simplified her lifestyle, she could actually be quite comfortable living on the earnings from her investments and not have to ever work again. Instead of purchasing a new home, she moved in with her sister. Now, at only 30 years of age, Sue is financially free. She won her independence not through earning a ton of money, but by consciously scaling back her personal overhead. Yes, she still works because she enjoys it, but she doesn't have to. In fact, she only works 6 months of the year. The rest of the time she spends in Fiji. First, because she loves it, and second, she says her money goes even further over there. Again, she lives with the locals rather than the tourists and doesn't spend a lot. How many people do you know who would love to spend 6 months of each year living on a tropical island, never having to work again, at the ripe old age of 30? How about 40? 50? 60? Ever? It's all because Sue created a simple lifestyle and consequently doesn't need a fortune to live on. So, what will it take for you to be happy financially? If you need to live in a mansion, have 3 vacation homes, own 10 cars, take annual trips around the world, eat caviar and drink the finest champagne to enjoy your life, that's fine. but recognize you've set your bar pretty darn high and it may take you a long, long time to get to a point where you're happy. On the other hand, if you don't need all the toys to be happy, you'll probably reach your financial goal a lot sooner. This recording is called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Does millionaire refer to income or net worth? Net worth. Therefore, if your intention is to be a millionaire or more, you must focus on building your net worth, which, as we've discussed, is based on much more than just your income. Make it a policy to know your net worth to the penny. Here's an exercise that can change your financial life forever. I want you to take a blank sheet of paper and title it Net Worth. Then create a simple chart that begins with 0 and ends with whatever your net worth objective is. Note your current net worth as it is today. Then every 90 days, enter your current net worth. That's it. If you do this, you will find yourself getting richer and richer. Why? Because you will be tracking your net worth. Remember, what you focus on expands. As I often say in our trainings, where attention goes, energy flows, and results show. By tracking your worth, you are focusing on it, and because what you focus on expands, your net worth will expand. By the way, this law goes for every other part of your life. What you track increases. I repeat, what you track increases. To that end, I encourage you to find and work with a good financial planner. These professionals can help you track and build your net worth. They will assist you in organizing your finances and introduce you to a variety of vehicles for saving and growing your money. Now, place your hand on your heart and declare, I focus on building my net worth. Touch your head and say, I have a millionaire mind. Here are your millionaire mind actions. 1. Focus on all 4 net worth factors: increasing your income, increasing your savings, increasing your investment returns, and decreasing your cost of living by simplifying your lifestyle. 2. As I suggested, create a net worth statement. To do this, add the current dollar value of everything you own, your assets, and subtract the total value of everything you owe, your liabilities. Commit to tracking and revising the statement each quarter of the year. Again, by virtue of the law of focus, what you track will increase. 3. Hire a financial planner who is highly successful and works with a well-known, reputable company. The best way to find a great financial planner is to ask friends and associates who are happy for their referrals. Wealth file number 14. Rich people manage their money well. Poor people mismanage their money well. It may not be the most glamorous of topics, but it comes down to this. The single biggest difference between financial success and financial failure is how well you manage your money. It's simple. To master money, you must manage money. Many people don't like to manage their money because first, they say it restricts their freedom, and second, they say they don't have enough money to manage. As for the first excuse, managing money does not restrict your freedom. To the contrary, it promotes it. Managing your money allows you to eventually create financial freedom so that you never have to work again. To me, that's real freedom. You must acquire the habits and skills of managing a small amount of money before you can have a large amount. Remember, we are creatures of habit, and therefore, the habit of managing your money is more important than the amount. So how exactly do you manage your money? At the Millionaire Mind seminars, we teach what many people believe to be an amazingly simple and effective money management method. It's beyond the scope of this recording to go over every detail. However, let me give you a couple of the basics so you can get started. Open a separate bank account designated your financial freedom account. Put 10% of every dollar you receive after taxes into this fund. This money is only to be used for investments and buying or creating passive income streams. The job of this account is to build a golden goose that lays golden eggs called passive income. And when do you get to spend this money? Never. It is never spent, only invested. Eventually, when you retire, you get to spend the income from the fund, but never the principal itself. In this way, It always keeps growing, and you can never go broke. It doesn't matter if you have a fortune right now or virtually nothing. What does matter is that you immediately begin to manage what you've got, and you'll be in shock at how soon you get more. I had a student at the Millionaire Mind seminar say, "How can I manage my money when I'm borrowing money to live on as it is?" The answer is, borrow an extra dollar and manage that dollar. Let's stop and examine this suggestion, which will rub some experts the wrong way. Even if you are borrowing or finding just a few dollars a month, you must learn to manage that money. Why? Because more than a physical world principle is at play here. This is also a universal or spiritual principle. Money miracles will happen when you begin handling your finances properly. In addition to opening a financial freedom bank account, create a financial freedom jar in your home and deposit money into it every day. It could be $10, $5, $1, a single penny, or all your loose change. The amount doesn't matter. Again, the habit does. The secret is to place daily attention on your objective of becoming financially free. Like attracts like. Money attracts more money. Let this simple jar become your money magnet, attracting more and more money and opportunities for financial freedom into your life. Now, I'm sure this isn't the first time you've heard the advice to save 10% of your money for long-term investing, but it may be the first time you've heard that you must have an equal and opposite account specifically designed for you to blow money and play. One of the biggest secrets to managing money is balance. On one side, you want to save as much money as possible so you can invest it and make more money. On the other side, you need to put another 10% of your income into a play account. Why? Because we are holistic in nature. You cannot affect one part of your life without affecting the others. Some people save, and while their logical and responsible self is fulfilled, their inner spirit is not. Eventually, this fun-seeking spirit side will say, "I've had enough. I want some attention too," and sabotage their results. On the other hand, if you spend, not only will you never become rich, but the responsible part of you will eventually create the situation where you don't even enjoy the things you spend your money on. Your play account is primarily used to nurture yourself, to do the things you normally wouldn't do. It's for the extra special things like going to a restaurant and ordering a bottle of the finest champagne or wine, or renting a boat for the day, or staying in a high-class hotel for an extravagant night of fun and frolic. The play account rule is that it must be spent every month. That's right. Each month, you have to blow all the money in that account in a way that makes you feel rich. The only way most of us will ever continue to follow our savings plan is by offsetting it with a playing plan that will reward us for our efforts. Your play account is also designed to strengthen your receiving muscle. It also makes managing money a heck of a lot more fun. In general, I advise that you create 5 accounts and divide your money for different purposes. In addition to the play account, the other accounts include 10% in your long-term savings for spending account, 10% into your education account, 50% into your necessities account, and 10% into your give account. It comes down to this. Either you control money or it will control you. To control money, you must manage money. Money is a big part of life, and when you learn how to get your finances under control, all areas of your life will soar. Now, place your hand on your heart and declare, "I am an excellent money manager." Now touch your head and say, "I have a millionaire mind." Here are your Millionaire Mind actions. 1. Open your Financial Freedom Bank account. Put 10% of all your income after taxes into this account. This money is never to be spent, only invested to produce passive income for your retirement. 2. Create a financial freedom jar in your home and deposit money into it every single day. Remember, it could be $10, $5, $1, a single penny, or all your loose change. Again, this will put daily attention on your financial freedom, and where attention goes, results show. 3. Open a play account or have a play jar in your home where you deposit 10% of all your income. Open 4 more accounts and deposit the following percentages into each: 10% into your long-term savings for spending account, 10% into your education account, 50% into your necessities account, and 10% into your give account. 4. Whatever money you have, begin managing it now. Do not wait another day. Even if you only have $1, manage that dollar. Wealth file number 15. Rich people have their money work hard for them. Poor people work hard for their money. If you're like most people, you grew up being programmed that you have to work hard for money. Chances are good, however, that you didn't grow up with the conditioning that it was just as important to make your money work hard for you. No question, working hard is important, but working hard alone will never make you rich. Let's get this straight. The idea that you have to work hard to get rich is bogus. The old Protestant work ethic states, "A dollar's work for a dollar's pay." There's nothing wrong with that adage, except they forgot to tell us what to do with that dollar's pay. Knowing what to do with that dollar is where you move from hard work to smart work. Rich people can spend their days playing golf and relaxing because they work smart. They understand and use leverage. They employ both other people and their money to work hard for them. Yes, in my experience, you do have to work hard for your money. For rich people, however, this is a temporary situation. For poor people, it's permanent. Rich people understand that you have to work hard until your money works hard enough to take your place. They understand the more your money works, the less you will have to work. At the Millionaire Mind seminars, the goal of the money game we teach is to never have to work again unless you choose to, and that if you work by choice, not by necessity. In other words, the goal is to become financially free as quickly as possible. My definition of financial freedom is simple. It is the ability to live the lifestyle you desire without having to work or rely on anyone else for money. Notice there is a good chance that your desired lifestyle is going to cost money. Therefore, to be free, you will need to earn money without working. We refer to income without work as passive income. To win the money game, the goal is to earn enough passive income to pay for your desired lifestyle. I have identified 2 primary sources of passive income. The first is money working for you. This includes investment earnings from financial instruments such as stocks, bonds, T-bills, money markets, mutual funds, as well as owning mortgages or other assets that appreciate in value and can be liquidated for cash. The second major source of passive income is business working for you. This entails generating ongoing income from businesses where you do not need to personally be involved for that business to operate and yield an income. Examples include rental real estate, royalties from books, music, or software, licensing your ideas, becoming a franchisor, owning storage units, owning vending or other types of coin-operated machines, and network marketing, just to name a few. I can't overemphasize the importance of creating passive income structures. It's simple. Without passive income, you can never be free. But, and it's a big but, did you know that most people have a tough time creating passive income? Most of us were never taught how to earn passive income. Since we were never exposed to or taught about passive income and investing, we have never given it much attention. For the most part, we have largely based our career and business choices on generating working income. By choosing business opportunities that immediately or eventually produce passive income, you'll have the best of both worlds, working income now and passive income later. Rich people think long-term. They balance their spending on enjoyment today with investing for freedom tomorrow. Poor people, they think short-term. They run their lives based on immediate gratification. Poor people use the excuse, "How can I think about tomorrow when I can barely survive today?" The problem is that eventually tomorrow will become today, meaning that if you haven't taken care of today's problem, you'll be saying the same thing again tomorrow. To increase your wealth, you either have to earn more or live on less. I don't see anyone putting a gun to your head and telling you the house you have to live in, the kind of car you have to drive, the clothes you have to wear, or the food you have to eat. You have the power to make choices. It's a matter of priorities. Poor people choose now. Rich people choose balance. I think about my in-laws. For 25 years, my wife's parents owned a variety store, a low-end version of a 7-Eleven, but a lot smaller. Most of their income came from the sale of cigarettes, candy bars, ice cream bars, gum, and sodas. They didn't even sell lottery tickets in those days. The average sale was less than $1. In short, they were in a penny business. Still, they saved most of those pennies. They didn't eat out, they didn't buy fancy clothes, and they didn't drive the latest car. They lived comfortably but modestly and eventually paid off their mortgage and even bought half of the plaza the store was located within. And at only 59 years of age, my father-in-law was able to retire by saving and investing pennies. More often than not, spending money you don't have comes from expending emotions you do have. This syndrome is commonly known as retail therapy. Overspending and the need for immediate gratification have little to do with the actual item you're buying and everything to do with lack of fulfillment in your life. Of course, if overspending isn't coming from your immediate emotions, it arises from your money blueprint. Remember, the idea is to have your money work as hard for you as you do for it, and that means you have to save and invest rather than make it your mission in life to spend it all. It's almost funny. Rich people have a lot of money and spend a little, while poor people have a little money and spend a lot. Rich people buy assets, things that will likely go up in value. Poor people buy expenses, things that will definitely go down in value. Rich people collect land. Poor people collect bills. I'll tell you the same thing I tell my kids. Buy real estate. It's best if you can purchase property that can produce positive cash flow, but as far as I'm concerned, any real estate is better than no real estate. Sure, real estate has its ups and downs, but in the end, be it 5, 10, 20, or 30 years from now, you can bet it will be worth a heck of a lot more than it is today, and it could be all you need to get rich. Buy what you can afford now. If you need more capital to get involved, you can partner with people you trust and know well. The only way to get in trouble with real estate is to overextend yourself and have to sell in a down market. If you heed my earlier advice and manage your money properly, the likelihood of this happening will be extremely slim and likely none. As the saying goes, don't wait to buy real estate and wait. The trick is to get educated. Learn about the investment world. Become familiar with a variety of different investment vehicles and financial instruments, such as real estate, mortgages, stocks, funds, bonds, currency exchange, the whole gamut. Then choose one primary area in which to become an expert. Begin investing in that area and then diversify into more later. It comes down to this. Poor people work hard and spend all their money, which results in their having to work hard forever. Rich people work hard, save, and then invest their money so they never have to work hard again. Now place your hand on your heart and declare, "My money works hard for me and makes me more and more money." And touch your head and say, "I have a millionaire mind." Here are your millionaire mind actions. 1. Get educated. Take investment seminars. Read at least one investment book a month. Read magazines such as Money, Forbes, Barron's, and the Wall Street Journal. I'm not suggesting you follow their advice. I'm suggesting you get familiar with what financial options are out there. Then choose an arena to become an expert in and begin investing in that area. 2. Change your focus from active income to passive income. List at least 3 specific strategies with which you could create income without working in either the investment or the business field. Begin researching and then take action on these strategies. 3. Don't wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate and wait. Wealth file number 16. Rich people act in spite of fear. Poor people let fear stop them. Millions of people think about getting rich, and thousands of people do affirmations, visualizations, and meditations for getting rich. I meditate almost every day, yet I've never sat there meditating or visualizing and had a bag of money drop on my head. I guess I'm just one of those unfortunate ones who actually has to do something to be a success. Affirmations, meditations, and visualizations are all wonderful, wonderful tools. But as far as I can tell, none of them on its own is going to bring you any real money in the real world. In the real world, you have to take real action to succeed. Why is action so critical? Let's go back to our process of manifestation that we discussed earlier in the recording. Thoughts lead to feelings, feelings lead to actions, actions lead to results. Let's look at thoughts and feelings. Are they part of the inner world or the outer world? The inner world. Now look at results. Are they part of the inner world or part of the outer world? The outer world. That means action is the bridge. I repeat, the bridge between the inner world and the outer world. So if action is so important, what prevents us from taking the actions we know we need to take? In one word, fear. Fear, doubt, and worry are among the greatest obstacles not only to success, but to happiness as well. Therefore, one of the biggest differences between rich people and poor people is that rich people are willing to act in spite of fear. Poor people let fear stop them. It's imperative to realize that it is not necessary to try and get rid of fear in order to succeed. Rich and successful people have fear. Rich and successful people have doubts. Rich and successful people have worries. They just don't let these feelings stop them. Unsuccessful people have fears, doubts, and worries and let those feelings stop them. Because we are creatures of habit, we need to practice acting in spite of fear. Practice acting in spite of doubt. Practice acting in spite of worry, in spite of uncertainty, in spite of inconvenience, in spite of discomfort, and even to practice acting when we're not in the mood to act. Why is acting in spite of discomfort so important? Well, because comfortable is where you're at right now. If you want to move to a new level in your life, you must break through your comfort zone and practice doing things that are not comfortable. Let's suppose you are currently leading a level 5 life and you want to move to a level 10 life. Level 5 and below are within your comfort zone, but level 6 and above are outside your box, in your uncomfort zone. Meaning, to get a level 10 life from a level 5 life, you will have to travel through your uncomfort zone. Poor people and most middle-class people are not willing to be uncomfortable. Remember, being comfortable is their biggest priority in life. But let me tell you a secret that only rich and highly successful people know. Being comfortable is highly overrated. Being comfortable may make you feel warm and fuzzy and secure, but it doesn't allow you to grow. To grow as a person, you have to expand your comfort zone. Did you know that the only time you can actually grow is when you're outside your comfort zone? Let me ask you a question. The first time you tried something new, was it comfortable or uncomfortable? Usually uncomfortable. But what happened afterward? The more you did it, the more comfortable it became, right? That's how it goes. Everything is uncomfortable at the beginning, but if you stick with it and continue, you'll eventually move through the uncomfort zone and succeed. Then you have a new expanded comfort zone, which means you'll have become a bigger person. Again, the only time you are actually growing is when you are uncomfortable. From now on, whenever you feel uncomfortable, instead of retreating back into your old comfort zone, pat yourself on the back and say, "I must be growing," and continue moving forward. If you want to be rich and successful, you better get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You know, nobody ever died of discomfort. Yet living in the name of comfort has killed more ideas, more opportunities, more actions, and more growth than everything else combined. Comfort kills. If your goal in life is to be comfortable, I guarantee 2 things. First, you will never be rich. Second, you will never be happy. Happiness does not come from living a lukewarm life, always wondering what could have been. Happiness comes as a result of being in our natural state of growth and living up to our fullest potential. Try this. The next time you are feeling uncomfortable, uncertain, or afraid, instead of shrinking and retreating back to safety, press forward. Notice and experience the feelings of discomfort, recognizing that they are only feelings and that they do not have the power to stop you. If you doggedly continue in spite of discomfort, I guarantee you will eventually reach your goal. Whether the feelings of discomfort ever subside doesn't matter. In fact, when they do lessen, take it as a sign to increase your objective, because the minute you get comfortable, you have stopped growing. Again, to grow yourself to your fullest potential, you must always be living at the edge of your box. And again, because we are creatures of habit, we must practice. I urge you to practice acting in spite of fear. Practice acting in spite of inconvenience. Practice acting in spite of discomfort. And practice acting even when you're not in the mood. By doing so, you will quickly move to a higher level of life. And along the way, make sure you check your bank account, because guaranteed that will be growing quickly too. Just so you know, your mind is the greatest soap opera scriptwriter in history. It makes up incredible stories, usually based in dramas and disasters, of things that never happened and probably never will. Mark Twain said it best. He said, "I've had thousands of problems in my life, most of which never actually happened." One of the most important things you can ever understand is that you are not your mind. You are much bigger and greater than your mind alone. That's why training and managing your own mind is the most important skill you could ever own in terms of both happiness and success. And that's exactly what we've been doing with this recording and will continue to do with you should you attend one of our live seminars. So, how do you train your mind? You start with observation. Notice how your mind consistently produces thoughts that are not supportive to your wealth and happiness. As you identify those thoughts, you can begin to consciously replace those non-empowering thoughts with empowering ones. So where do you find these empowering ways of thinking? Right here, in this recording. Every one of the declarations in this audio is an empowering and successful way of thinking. Adopt these ways of thinking, being, and attitudes as your own. You don't have to wait for a formal invitation. Decide right now that your life would be better if you chose to think in the ways we've been describing in this recording, instead of through the self-defeating mental habits of the past. You can choose your thoughts. You have the natural ability to cancel any thought that is not supporting you at any time. You can also install self-empowering thoughts at any time, simply by choosing to focus on them. You have the power to control your mind. So what is the difference between power thinking and positive thinking? The distinction is slight but very profound. To me, people use positive thinking to pretend that everything is rosy when they really believe inside that it's not. With power thinking, however, we understand that everything is neutral, that nothing has meaning except for the meaning we give it, and that we are going to make up a story and give something its meaning. With positive thinking, people believe that their thoughts are true. Power thinking, however, recognizes that our thoughts are not true, but since we're making up a story anyway, we might as well make up a story that supports us. We don't do this because our new thoughts are true in an absolute sense, but because they are more useful to us and feel a heck of a lot better than non-supportive ones. Declarations. Now place your hand on your heart and declare, I act in spite of fear. I act in spite of doubt. I act in spite of worry. I act in spite of inconvenience. I act in spite of discomfort. I act when I'm not in the mood. And now touch your head and say, I have a millionaire mind. Here are your millionaire mind actions. 1. List your 3 greatest worries, concerns, or fears regarding money and wealth. Challenge them. For each, write down what you would do if the situation you fear actually happened. Could you still survive? Could you make a comeback? Chances are that the answers are yes. Now quit worrying and start getting rich. 2. Practice getting out of your comfort zone. Intentionally make decisions that are uncomfortable for you. Speak to people you normally wouldn't speak to. Ask for a raise in your job or raise your prices in your business. Wake up an hour earlier each day. Take a walk in the woods at night by yourself. 3. Employ power thinking. Observe yourself and your thought patterns. Only entertain thoughts that support your happiness and success. Challenge the little voice in your head whenever it tells you I can't, or I don't want to, or I don't feel like it. Not only will you increase your confidence dramatically, but eventually this voice will get quieter and quieter as it recognizes it has little effect on you. Wealth file number 17. Rich people constantly learn and grow. Poor people think they already know. At the beginning of my live seminars, I introduce people to what I call the 3 most dangerous words in the English language. Those words are, I know that. So how do you know if you know something? Simple. If you live it, you know it. Otherwise, you heard about it, you read about it, you sure talk about it, but you don't know about it. Put bluntly, if you are not really rich and really happy, there's a good chance you still have some things to learn about money, success, and life. As I explained at the beginning of this recording, during my broke days, I was fortunate to get some advice from a multimillionaire friend who had some compassion for my plight. Remember what he said to me, Harv, if you're not as successful as you'd like to be, there's something you don't know. Fortunately, I took his suggestion to heart and went from being a know-it-all to a learn-it-all. From that moment on, everything changed. Poor people are often trying to prove that they're right. They put on a mask as if they've got it all figured out, and they say it's just some stroke of bad luck or a temporary glitch in the universe that has them broke or struggling. There's a saying that author and speaker Jim Rohn uses that makes perfect sense here. He says this, if you keep doing what you've always done, you'll keep getting what you've always got. See, you already know your way. What you need is to know some new ways. My goal here is to give you some new mental files to add to the ones you already have. New files mean new ways of thinking, new actions, and therefore new results. That's why it's imperative you continue to learn and grow. You know, physicists agree that nothing in this world is static. Everything alive is constantly changing. Take any plant. If a plant isn't growing, it's automatically dying. It's the same with people, as well as all other living organisms. If you are not growing, you have to be dying. It's funny. Poor people claim they can't afford to get educated due to lack of time or money. Whenever I offer the Millionaire Mind Intensive program, I find it very interesting that it's usually the people who are the most broke who say, I don't need the course, or I don't have the time, or I don't have the money. Meanwhile, the millionaires and multimillionaires all register and say, hey, if I can learn just one new thing or make one improvement, it's worth it. I'm sorry, but saying I don't have the money just doesn't cut it. When will you have the money? What is going to be different a year or 2 years or 5 years from now? Here's the easy answer. Nothing. And you'll be saying exactly the same words again at that time. The only way I know to have the money you want is to learn how to play the money game inside and out. You need to learn the skills and strategies to accelerate your income, to manage money, and to invest it effectively. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Look, if what you've been doing were working, chances are you'd already be rich and happy by now. Anything else your mind conjures up as a response is nothing more than an excuse or justification. Look, I hate to be so in your face about it, but the way I see it, that's my job. I believe a good coach will always ask more of you than you will ask of yourself. Otherwise, why the heck do you need one? As a coach, my goal is to train you, inspire you, encourage you, coax you, and have you observe in full living color what is holding you back. In short, to do whatever it takes to move you to the next level in your life. If I have to, I'll rip you apart and then piece you back together in a way that works. I'll do whatever it takes to make you 10 times happier and 100 times as rich. Hear this. If you're looking for Pollyanna, I'm not your guy. If you want to move quickly and permanently, let's continue. The fact is, success is a learnable skill. You can learn to succeed at anything. If you want to be a great golfer, you can learn how to do that. If you want to be a great piano player, you can learn how to do that. If you want to be truly happy, you can learn how to do that. If you want to be rich, you can learn how to do that too. It doesn't matter where you are right now. It doesn't matter where you're starting from. What matters is that you are willing to learn. One of my better-known quotes is, "Every master was once a disaster." No one, I repeat, no one comes out of the womb a financial genius. Every rich person learned how to succeed at the money game, and so can you. Remember, your motto is, if they can do it, I can do it. Becoming rich isn't as much about getting rich financially as about whom you have to become in character and mind to get rich. I want to share a secret with you that very few people know. The fastest way to get rich and stay rich is to work on developing you. The goal is to grow yourself into a successful person. Again, your outer world is merely a reflection of your inner world. You are the root, and your results are the fruits. Heed this warning, however. If you don't do this kind of work on yourself, and somehow you make a lot of money, it was probably a stroke of luck. There's a good chance you'll lose it. But if you become a successful person, inside and out, you'll not only make it, you'll keep it, grow it, and most important, you'll be truly happy. In short, success is not a what, it's a who. The good news is that who you are is totally trainable and learnable. I should know. By no means am I perfect or even close to it, but when I look at who I am today, as opposed to who I was 25 years ago, I can see a direct correlation between me and my wealth, or lack of it then, and me and my wealth now. I learned my way to success, and so can you. You know, I found that another key difference between rich people and poor and middle-class people is that rich people are experts in their field. Middle-class people, well, they're mediocre in their field. And poor people, you guessed it, they're poor in their field. How good are you at what you do? How good are you at your job? How good are you at your business? Would you like a totally unbiased way of knowing? Look at your paycheck. That will tell you everything. It's simple. To get paid the best, you must be the best. We recognize this principle in the professional sports world every day. Generally, the best players in every sport earn and get paid the most. They also make the most money on endorsements. This same principle also holds true in both the business and financial worlds. Whether you choose to be a business owner, a professional, a network marketing distributor, whether you're in commission sales or a salary job, whether you're an investor in real estate, stocks, or anything else, one thing is for certain. The better you are at it, the more you'll earn. This is just another reason why being a continuous learner and enhancing your skill in whatever arena you're in is imperative. While we're on the topic of learning, it's worth noting that rich people not only continue to learn, they make sure they learn from those who have already been where they themselves want to go. One of the things that made the biggest difference for me personally was whom I learned from. I always made it a point to learn from true masters in their respective fields, not those who claimed to be experts, but those who had real-world results to back up their talk. Rich people take advice from people who are richer than they are. Poor people, well, they take advice from their friends, who usually are just as broke as they are. That's why I highly recommend you consider hiring a personal success coach. A good coach will keep you on track in doing what you've said you want to do. Some coaches are life coaches, meaning they handle the gamut of everything, while other coaches have specialties that might include personal or professional performance, finances, business, relationships, health, and even spirituality. Again, find out your prospective coach's background to ensure the coach has demonstrated success in the arenas of importance to you. Remember, the more you learn, the more you earn, and you can take that to the bank. To this end, as part of our Millionaire Mind money management method, I strongly suggest that you put 10% of your income into an education fund. Use this money specifically for courses, books, tapes, CDs, or any other way you choose to educate yourself, whether through the formal education system, private training companies, or personalized one-on-one coaching. Whatever method you choose, this fund ensures you will always have the wherewithal to learn and grow instead of repeating the poor person's refrain of, "I already know." Now, place your hand on your heart and declare, "I am committed to constantly learning and growing." And touch your head and say, "I have a millionaire mind." Here are your Millionaire Mind actions. 1. Commit. I repeat, commit to your growth. Each month, read at least one book, listen to one educational tape or CD, or take a seminar on money, business, or personal development. Your knowledge, your confidence, and your success will soar. 2. Consider hiring a personal coach to keep you on track. 3. Attend the Millionaire Mind Intensive Seminar. This amazing event has transformed the lives of thousands and thousands of people and will transform your life too. So what the heck do I do now? You might be asking yourself. Where do I start? I've said it before and I'll say it again and again and again. Talk is cheap. I hope you enjoyed listening to this recording, but more important, I hope you use its principles to dramatically enhance your life. In my experience, however, listening alone will not make the difference you're looking for. It's a great start, but if you want to succeed in the real world, it's going to be your actions that count. In part 1 of this recording, I introduced the concept of your money blueprint. It's simple. Your financial blueprint will determine your financial destiny. Make certain you do each of the exercises I suggested in the arenas of verbal programming, modeling, and specific incidents in order to begin changing your blueprint to one that supports financial success. I also encourage you to do the declarations I suggested each and every day. In part 2 of this recording, you learn specific ways that rich people think differently from poor and middle-class people. I recommend you commit each of these wealth files to memory by repeating the declarations daily. This will root these principles into your mind. Eventually, you will find yourself looking at life, and especially money, very differently. From there, you will make new choices and decisions and create new results. To speed up this process, make sure you do the action exercises given at the end of each of the wealth files. These action exercises are imperative. For change to be permanent, it must occur on a cellular basis. Your brain's wiring must be remade. This means you have to put the material into practice. Don't just listen to this recording, don't just talk about it, and don't just think about it. Actually do it. But beware of the little voice in your head saying something like, "Exercises, schmexercises. I don't need or have time for exercises." Notice who's doing the talking here. The conditioned mind, that's who. Remember, its job is to keep you right where you are in your comfort zone. Don't listen to it. Do the action exercises, do your declarations, and then watch your life skyrocket. I also suggest you listen to this recording from beginning to end at least once a month for the next year. What? Your little voice might be screaming. I've already heard it. Why do I need to hear it over and over again? Good question. And the answer is simple. Repetition is the mother of learning. Again, the more you listen to this recording, the faster the concepts will become natural and automatic for you. And be sure to visit www.millionairemindbook.com and click on Free Book Bonuses to receive several valuable gifts that include a printable list of declarations suitable for framing, the Millionaire Mind Thought of the Week, the Millionaire Mind Action Reminder, and the Millionaire Mind Net Worth Tracking Sheet. As I stated earlier, I learned my way to success, and so now it's my turn to assist others. My mission is to educate and inspire people to live in their higher self based in courage, purpose, and joy versus fear, need, and obligation. I am truly blessed to have seminars, workshops, and camps that transform people's lives quickly and permanently. I'm thrilled to have been able to help over 250,000 people become richer and happier. So, from my heart to yours, I invite you to attend the 3-day Millionaire Mind Intensive Seminar. This event will take you to an entirely new level of success. At this course, we will actually change your money blueprint right on the spot. In one incredible weekend, you will break through whatever is holding you back from reaching your full financial potential. You will walk out of the program with a brand new outlook on life, on money, on your relationships, and on yourself. Many attendees count the Millionaire Mind Intensive as one of the most important experiences of their life. It's fun, it's exciting, and it's packed with profound knowledge and essential financial skills. You will also meet hundreds of like-minded people from all over the world, many of whom could become business associates and lifelong friends. So as a thank you for purchasing the audio of Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, you can qualify for 2 free tickets to the entire 3-day Millionaire Mind Intensive Seminar, a total value of $2,590. Simply go to the website www.millionairemindbook.com, or if you don't have access to a computer, call 1-888-6-BE-RICH. That's 1-888-6-BE-RICH. Well, that's it for now. Thank you so much for spending your precious time listening to this recording. I wish you tremendous success and true happiness, and I look forward to meeting you in person soon. For your freedom, T. Harv Eker.
There's a secret to success.